All right, I am here with my guy, Mr. Tobias. Sir, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Now, for some of our old school listeners, this is probably going to be a trip back in the days, man. I don't know, 13 some odd years ago.
Wow.
When we started this podcast together, man, actually, their very original few episodes were the both of us together, talking about Prince, man. And I just felt like, we had to really go back and take it back to the beginning, just because I feel like this release, Sign of Times, is such an important deal. I know it's some of our favorite stuff. And so I just wanted to, get your thoughts, man, on what do you think of this release? Did you ever think we would see something like this? Have you had a chance to listen to it? All that, man. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. Number one, you have been doing a fantastic job, and I got to give props to Big Sexy for taking my seat. You are Tobias approved, my man. I will say that, no, I never thought that we would see this ever. It's been really great to get these reissues and some of the additional songs that haven't been officially released, only been rumors about a lot of them, and to see them come to light has really been interesting, and it's really good to get a peek behind the creative process and some of the choices that are made between things that may not have been ready for prime time in his mind, but things that we appreciate as the listener. And for this particular record, it's really special because it was like when that record came out, it really changed the game up because it was another double disc. At the time, I don't remember if I had heard or we were talking about any of the configurations that led up to that, because most of the time it was like you hear the records, you watch the videos, you read the magazines, but you didn't really get a view into the process and the technology that we have now, and how information is more readily available. It's really easy to get your hands on that stuff. So in a retrospective view, it's amazing how all of this stuff came together in the package that was able to be put together as far as the original record, but then to see the blown out expansion. And I have not been able to get through all of the stuff. I thought it was really interesting to hear the different version of "I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man." Yeah. That song, it's a very, very special song, in and of itself. The creative process is really interesting. The choices, little things that were changed that changed the whole dynamic of the record. So I'm really enjoying the multiple takes and the different mixes and just being able to have my hands on it to listen to it and just enjoy it. I mean, that's the thing. It's different to be a older person than when we were kids when this came out, and we were feverishly on our edge of our seats for every release, every 12-inch, every 7-inch cassette, whatever. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I bought this record. Had it in cassette multiple times, record multiple times, all the 12 inches. This is really cool. I mean, I really appreciate the time, the care that it took. Could, things be different? Yeah, but I'm not even really ever trying to focus on that. I just appreciate what's been made available because, it's more than what I had before. It's
yeah,
great.
Man. Because, I mean, we used to go to, I remember, I don't know if it was me and you or it was or Richard Garcia, to be honest, but I know going to Tower Records and seeing the 12-inch, The Sign of the Times, not knowing that it was out.
Wow.
And it was like, I was like, whoa, what is this? And, obviously immediately buying it.
Right.
And coming all the way home and putting the needle down on the record. And I just remember, I think I had already heard Sign of the Times maybe, but flipping it over and La 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 He.
Yeah.
It was like, yo.
The highly explosive mix?
Yeah. I was like, this is the shit right here. I'm like, my God, what is going on, man? Like, I was blown away by that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I was with you for that.
That might have been Richard, actually. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were out in University District or something, but.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, man. It's really nice. I of course, if you were to say, all right, man, what's the one thing that you would have liked to have seen that you didn't see with this? And I would just say, like, of course, all of the additional artists that was going on at the time. Right. I would have loved to have seen, like, Madhouse, and all of that stuff that been around the same time,
Taja Seville.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Jill Jones.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm still Violet Blue.
Yeah. No, let me ask you this real quick. I'm not gonna go all into the songs, but I don't know. Have you heard the song on there? It Bees Like That Sometimes.
I haven't made it there yet.
Okay, and the only reason I mention it because when you hear it, you're gonna think of Violet Blue, and then reading on it, I see that it was either made the same day or right after or something. It's the beat is almost the same.
Wow.
But it's like it's another one of those songs. He could have put that out; it would have been a hit. We're like, okay.
Man, I can't I can't wait to get through it. It's been busy and I listen to a little bit. Listen to a little bit when I can, and just not enough time in the day. But I will make my way through this record.
Yeah, it's over 8 hours of stuff, so it's a full-time job for sure.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Yeah. My problem is that I listen to my favorite songs on the regular record, and I get stuck there. So I'm just like, wow, I haven't listened to this in a while, and so I'm find myself listening to, especially the first few songs on disc 2. So I mean that's like some of my favorite sequences of songs that he's had, and
that's what's up.
Yeah, I got to get past that.
And just real quick, man, to put some of your comments in perspective. I mean, aside from being a long time fan of the music and stuff, but you're a musician yourself. You know what I'm saying? Had albums out, tours and things of that nature. So you have that, you have that as well behind what you're talking about. So you really appreciate, obviously the music and the musicality and what it takes to, for what Prince did, you know what I'm saying, in terms of work ethic and just all the hard work and pushing things forward and stuff.
Hey man, trying to stay focused to stay in that space where you can be creative and not let the outside world corrupt your vision, or I shouldn't say corrupt, but just take you off of your course that you're on, or the space that you're trying to reach out into that you've never been before. It's hard, and I mean I can't even imagine at this point. I mean, how many records did he have out? And then you think about all the unreleased material and just continuing to push every day. It's like, hey, I'm going to try to do something different than I've done yesterday. I'm gonna just keep going. And even if I do wind up doing something that's like what I did yesterday, I'm still gonna work through the process. So that's why I think these releases with these different songs are really I think he's right when he said, if you want to know about me, listen to the music, because it's an incredible amount of focus. I mean, just like, watching 30 for 30 or The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and it's like someone to have that much focus on their vision and to stay on it for a duration, no matter what ups and downs, whatever life is happening. But you just have it in your head that this is what I'm going to do no matter what. You know, that's incredible, because it's hard for the average person to, I mean, right now, especially with all the distractions that we have with electronics, how do you stay focused and, not check your Twitter page, every 10 minutes? Right. So to shut out the outside world and be content with that. I mean, it's a lonely road, I would imagine, to do that for such a long time. But it's like, what do you want out of life, and what are you trying to build? And he did it, man.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Well, again, I just wanted to really get you on here and get your opinion. Again, as I said earlier, Tobias and myself, we started this podcast together, and I felt like this is a very monumental release. So I wanted to get him on here. So consider this a deluxe edition of the podcast. But with that said, we're going to get into the review. Again, Tobias, that's my dude. Shout out the name of some of the projects. People can go back and check out some of your work, man. I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. I'll tell you what. Why don't we do something later?
Hilarious. See, that's the perfectionist musician dude. I want him to hear my new stuff. I don't. Hilarious. I already know.
Yeah.
But all right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, of course. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to podcastjuice.net. My name is Michael Dean. We are here. This is the big one. This is the part one, Sign of the Times, our review of the Sign of the Times Deluxe Edition. Man, anyone who knows this podcast has been listening, this is one of the albums, at least I speak for myself, one of my favorites. We've done an extensive review of this album before, the regular original album. Now we are here with the deluxe. This is part one. We're going to do Volt tracks today. I had to go back to the old school and get some of the original players from this podcast. Through the power of editing, you've already heard Tobias. Me and Tobias started this podcast many years ago. So I had to go back and get him. And then I also had to reunite, like there's the Avengers and how they, expanded over the years. Well, this is the OG Avengers squad of the Prince podcast, is what we used to call it. And I had to go get my boys, man. This one, and salute to the soldiers who have held it down, Aunt Pooh's, Q, people who've come through. Salute to y'all. We've not forgotten Darlene Nisi, Chloe. But I had to go back to the OG crew. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce everybody here real quick. Big Sexy, sir, how are you?
I'm doing well, ready to dive deep into this.
Yes, sir. Big Sexy, you're kind of like the Matt Fink of the group. I was thinking. He survived. He's in all the bands. But anyway, also, man, he's been back and forth with us, been on. I can't remember the last one he was on, but it wasn't too long ago. But my man, Mr. Dey Droppin, sir, how are you?
I am doing very well, Mike. So happy to be here with this one and with present company. Man, I'm over the moon. Awesome release, awesome podcast, awesome everything. Good to go.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you here. And last but certainly not least, this man here. Man, me and him have done a podcast together back in the days talking about Prince. One of the cats who I feel like really kind of I feel like everything he says about Prince, I pretty much agree with, even if I want to try to argue or I have some, but I trust this brother's opinion so well and I highly regard it. So without further ado, man, Mr. Big Ken, sir, how are you?
I'm good, man. I am very, very happy to be reunited with the crew. the four horsemen. If we're the Avengers, man, I'm the Thor in the posse. Then
Okay.
okay. So yeah, man, this is a great release, man. It's a great occasion to reunite with everybody, man. So let's just jump on in it.
Yes, sir. All right. Yeah.
Clap
it up. Clap it up.
Yeah.
And shout out to, before I begin, shout out to Brandon. I'm going to keep saying his name, but shout out to Brandon, a dope listener, supporter of the podcast. He went and got me the copy of the vinyl edition of the box set. Could not have done this without him. Salute to him.
Yeah, that was very cool.
nice.
Yeah, so very much. We thank you for that. Awesome. And I did an unboxing. You can check that out with my real boss, Gracie. Sounds like somebody popping pills. We getting ready. We got the Percocets popping. No, let me stop. This podcast will go a whole different way. No, that's not a good joke. Anyway, let's get into this thing. So before we do our review, and we're going to do a song for song review, track for track, so buckle in. I want to get you guys' overall thoughts, man, of this release. Like, what does this thing mean to you? Like, did we ever think that we would get a box set of Sign of the Times? So I'm going to open it up, man. We're going to start with Dey Droppin.
Sure. Basically, this is a time machine in a box set is what it is for me. When I heard that this was going to be coming out, I was just, I was ecstatic. And having received it, looked at it, heard it, just look at everything that's in there. It, like I said, it's a time machine. It transported me back to 87 when I was 13 years old, hearing about this. I remember I was in the shower and I would have my radio there in the bathroom with me as I was showering. And here comes this new track called Sign of the Times. When I first heard it, I remember the very first time I heard the song because I was taking a shower when I heard it. I go, what the heck is this? And a couple of months later, it was released. I don't know if I got it first day. I probably did. But I was just, that album back then, his albums were just throwing me for a loop every time, challenging me. And this was one of those albums that did that. And when I got this set, I went from being 47 to being 13. And wow, what a trip. I mean, I was like happy face from ear to ear looking at this thing, just looking at the box with the peace sign on it, just looking at the box that it came in. And then, doing my own personal unboxing and looking at it, man, it was wild. It was wild. And it continues to be wild. For me, it's important because this is one of those albums that shows how eclectic Prince is, how different, and how he can really go through different types of sounds and different kinds of instrumentations, and how he could just elaborate everything and just go all kinds of places. And that's what I thought back in 87. And now with the album and then everything else that's included with it, you show exactly how in a small period of time this guy could just go everywhere and do it without even thinking about it. It was just pouring out of this guy. It's just a testament to how perfectly suited to his craft he was. And I feel like with this release, every deluxe edition that's come out, they've upped the ante, the estate. And man, good luck trying to up this one. It's just, for me, it's just such a great release, such a fun trip down memory lane and making new memories. That's my take on it.
All right. Big Ken.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that and agree wholeheartedly with pretty much everything that Dey Droppin said, man. I mean, this is one of those seminal albums in Prince's catalog, one of my favorites. So when they first announced the set, first of all, I was happy. I was like, okay, we're going to get a Sign of the Time set. I'm all for that. But at that point, we didn't see the track list. We didn't know how in depth they were going to go with it. But this set, man, just completely blew me out of the water, man. I mean, just the the sheer presentation of it, the sound quality is great, especially on the original album. I mean, Sign of the Times, that the album, along with Around the World in a Day, Parade, to me, those albums always lacked in the audio recording because they lacked bass, they lacked any kind of depth in the sound just because of the way they were mixed. So I was very, very happy that they were going to finally remaster this, and then the quality of the remaster, and right now I'm just referring to just the original Sign of the Times tracks is great. Like I actually, I was in the car the other day and had it on, and songs like Sign of the Times, songs like It, I can actually feel a little bass, coming through the speakers, and I just kind of was just driving, grinning ear to ear at the whole thing. I was very pleased with that. And like they said, man, this was one of those albums that I have very fond memories of. And all I will say is this, man, I come from buying, I buy deluxe box sets like this all the time for certain artists. Like, for example, Miles Davis sets, man, are very, very well done. Sony has been doing those for like the last 10 years. They put one out like every 2 or 3 years, and they're very exhaustive. They're very expansive, deluxe, with the reading materials and everything that comes with it. This set, I would have to say, actually eclipses those. And I never thought I would have say that about a box set. I mean, what they've done with this is fantastic. Okay. I mean, just the experience of unboxing it. And I bought the vinyl version at first. For the longest time, I had the CD pre-order, but at the last minute, I just, you know what, I want the vinyl. I want the big boy, right? And I was so glad that I made that change because, man, just the heft of it, the weight of it, the attention to the photos on the record sleeves. I mean, on the covers. I mean, the coffee table book that comes with it is great. I mean, that is, very, very well done with the essays and stuff in it. All that. It's just beautifully done. And it gives me hope that maybe we will see something very similar for Around the World in a Day Parade era sessions. And I would love to see something like that for Parade, and maybe get the color version of Under the Cherry Moon thrown in. All that kind of stuff would be very, 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 would be something I would love to see. So, yeah, overall, man, this was, basically I put it on Facebook, man, this was Christmas in September. To be honest, I mean, this box set single-handedly might redeem 2020. 2020 has been the most terrible year I can recall in recent memory. This set might even that out. That's how good it is.
All right. Man, it made me think about some things. You were saying that. Big Sexy.
I want to piggyback on both what Ken and Ernie said. First of all, as far as box sets go, I remember way back in the mid to late 70s or early 80s, Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs did these enormous box sets of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and other artists I just can't think of. But they came in these little black wooden boxes, and they were huge. I'm like, whoa. That's pretty cool. And so when I saw these state was working on things, each one, they got it a little better, got a little closer to what they wanted to do. They start off with the Purple Rain Deluxe. I'm like, okay, that's nice. Then they do 1999. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is much better. And then with this one, they pulled out all the stops. Like Ken said, they went back and remastered the original music, and I am not too proud to say that the remastering done by, friend of the show, Bernie Grunman, was a great job. Bernie put in the work and did the damn thing. And then a lot of the songs that are on or in the vault sections, let's be real. A lot of us have heard some of that before, but not like this. Not completed, versions, fully mastered and recognized versions of a lot of these songs, and it's like hearing them for the first time. The coffee table book, I haven't even gotten through it all yet because there's so much to digest, and I too got mine on vinyl for that reason, because I wanted that heft. I wanted the old days of, curl up on the couch under the headphones, reading liner notes. I missed that. We all missed that. And so the the estate answered all those questions and scratched that itch for all of us. And they did a great job. The next one, I don't know what it's going to be, but if I just can't see it being bigger than this. Now, if they keep it that size, great, I'm all over it. But if they can, actually top this in packaging and delivery, I will be shocked, because they really went above and beyond on this one.
All right, man. What can I say? I'll say this. I would have never imagined we would have gotten a release like this. I know we've always talked about what would we want to see in a special edition, or if they should put out the bootlegs, or they should put these unreleased songs, or I wish they put that video out. And they actually did that here. The concert video, just to start from that. Like, I've seen parts of that before. A lot of us have owned that show, but it wasn't the complete show. But to see it in its completed form, and they went back and touched up the audio too, I just thought that was fabulous. Like, that could have just gave me that, and I would have been blown away, because that's my favorite era, and just everything about that, from the music to the visuals, just like, I was like, okay, this is great. To actually have, I'm sorry, you don't hear this, but I do. I'll edit this. Sorry. So what I was saying, to hold the box set in my hand, and somebody mentioned it earlier, the heft of it, the weight of it, that is a big thing about it. And that's something with, like, owning something, physically owning a product, that I actually forgot, because I'm a digital guy of a lot of things, and I've gotten rid of a lot of things. But to actually have something from my childhood that meant so much to me at that time, to have it now as an adult and a very much older person, to be able to really understand things and can look at things through a different type of a mind. Actually, so holding that in my hand was a head buster, because I was like, man, I know what this means. Like, this means this is a lot of work here. There's a lot of nostalgia here. There's so many time I spent listening to some of this music over the years of my life, and it's actually been given super care, and like, somebody cared enough, and somebody else appreciated Prince's music enough that they put this together, like, with so much love, like so much attention to detail. And Prince was the detail guy. Like, you could listen to his music and you heard little things, and oh man, he put that in there. And I feel like that was done with this, like, just the presentation of it, the inscription on the side of the box, and that sort of weird glossy type print that's on there, that's the symbol on the back that you have to kind of hold it in a certain way. You can see the light reflection off of it. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. This wasn't just thrown together. We're going to go through all of the songs and stuff, but I just feel like this is what we've been wanting. We can argue and talk about what they should have put in and didn't. I'm not saying it's perfect, but the execution of the actual set itself, in my opinion, is perfect in terms of, like, gathering it together and the way it was presented. So I'm ecstatic with this. I almost wish, this means so much, and this was done so well. I almost kind of want to say, can we do a do-over of Purple Rain?
Oh, you can bet money that's coming.
Yeah, because I can see that coming.
Yeah, because I'm like, that was cool at the time, but now they finally kind of figured out a flow mat for this. Purple Rain, that deserves the same type of presentation 1999 got and what this got. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to throw it all in and really dive in, because that's such an important part of his thing too. Like, now I look at it now, like, that special edition when
it got clowned by this one.
Yeah. But you know what, Mike? That's part of the blessing and the curse of being a Prince person, right? Is that this guy was so insanely talented and so prolific that no matter what configuration of the set this set, 1999 set, Purple Rain set, whatever, he had so much stuff that he was doing that overlapped. Like, because this guy, let's face it, we know that he would make 2, 3, 4 songs a day. That's all he did.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that some people would have complaints about anything that they would put out because it's just so much.
Right.
We know that there's a lot of material from this era that's still not on this set that probably could be. Mm-hmm. But that same material though probably could be, set aside for Crystal Ball, or set aside for Roadhouse Garden, or set aside for parade sessions, or set aside for Love Sexies. I mean, so just the job that they had to do to sift through all this, I appreciate. And that's why I say I can't complain about anything in this set.
No, right. And I'm saying it just sort of sets a watermark now where it's like, yes, that's what I'm saying. Purple Rain needs to have a box like this.
Yeah, they can't go back, and they will.
Well, they can't go back. I'm just saying, but Purple Rain, I need to hold a big box like that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I agree. I'm saying they can't go back in terms of that. Right. This is the new standard.
Right.
The standard is now set. They can't go back to something smaller. But I agree with you. I would bet money. I'd bet my mortgage and yours that there will be a Purple Rain set in the future along this lines, because we, as we all know, there's a ton of material for that period that they could have added in there. Right. So it's coming.
Yeah, but
I don't want to disrespect, or imply to disrespect anyone, but if they do a Purple Rain set like this, are they going to go to Bernie and have him do his thing? Because a lot of the complaints about the Purple Rain were the remixes or the remasterings.
Right, that they didn't seem to really do anything.
Yeah.
Well, the complaints I heard is that they were kind of brick wall, like they put a lot of compression in and all that kind of stuff.
And that wasn't Bernie.
And that wasn't Bernie.
But that was Prince.
Right. Exactly. Right. Right. That's the one that he did, and that's another thing that's really beautiful about this set is that this Sign of the Times set is that, you can tell Bernie did the remastering for the different mediums. Right, there's the remastering for CD, and you can hear it in the vinyl. I mean, because you can't master songs the same way for CD and vinyl, because just of the physical medium difference, you can't. So, dude, there was so much work and so much detail put into this set. It's just like this. Let me just say it this way: this set to me really is worthy of the artist and all of the effort that he put in for it. It's a good representation of the artist. And I think is very much worthy of all the praise that it gets.
Yeah, definitely. And whatever they decide to do next, as we said, you can't go backwards. This is the standard. And there's a fan base that is ready to support that, this level of dedication, whatever the price may be.
And they could charge what they want, to be honest. I mean, because, maybe I shouldn't say this because I don't know if the estate's listening. I mean, they could have charged more for this set and it would have been worth every penny. I mean, to be just totally honest, I mean, some of the, we'll get to that over the course of the next couple of shows. But man, there's a handful of songs on here where, man, just to hear that particular song is worth the set by itself. And I mean, that's how deep it is.
Well, man, let's just get into it. So that's just kind of some of our thoughts of it. I'm sure we're going to have more as we go. But what we do here is we go song by song, and that's where we're going to start right now. So disc, I don't know what disc this is.
Well, for CDs, I think this is like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm holding the vinyl sleeve in my hand.
Yeah, it'd be Vault 1, I believe. Yeah,
Vault 1.
And let me just say this last thing I want to say too. I went and bought a record player for this. Right?
What?
Yeah, I went out and bought a record player. I'm going to get some speakers. But I'm going to tell you, if you're an older cat like me and you haven't had really vinyl in a long time and you was super vinyled out when you was a younger person, there's going to be something that's going to happen to you when you open this bad boy up and pull out the sleeve and the vinyl. It was just I was like transported back, and I was like, God, I forgot how much music really meant to me.
See, it's going to hit you too.
Yeah. It's going to hit you in the gut, no doubt.
Yeah, I was like, God, I forgot. Yeah, and it made me think about Prince in a whole different ways. Remember how I used to think about it back and what it meant to pull the record and put it down, and I just, like Ernie said, you pulled me back to 13, pulled me back to whatever. I was like, God damn. And it makes me appreciate, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get other stuff that I really liked and maybe some other, iconic albums that I know, but I never really had a critical ear. And you know what I mean? So like one of the first ones I'm about to go get, it might sound funny or whatever, I'm about to go get Superfly, Curtis Mayfield.
Oh, you got to get that.
Because I remember I had that album. My mom and dad had it. I used to look, and I'm like, I want the actual thing with the little Superfly that flipped open, and I want to play. Yeah, and I was like, I want to play that. That's a dope piece of art.
Just a warning, Mike. You about to enter a rabbit hole here, man.
I know.
Okay, because on the real, man. See, here's the thing. I have a small. It's not super small, but it's not super large either. But I have a collection of vinyl. Some of which are original vinyls that my parents had. Like I have my mom's copy of Songs in the Key of Life.
Wow.
I have the original, my father's copy of Superfly, like you say. I have some of those, right? I got a lot of original jazz stuff, Coltrane, Miles and stuff too. But a couple years back, I'm actually said maybe 3 or 4 years back, I started trying to go back and get all of the Prince vinyl that I could. Now, a lot of those I had, all my original 12-inch singles, I still have those, with my little marks on them, like I remember around on the day, like I would put the check marks to rate the songs and whatnot. Like my original one that I wrote all over the cover, I have that. You know what I'm saying? But then some of the other ones I had to kind of, find through eBay and stuff. So I have the original Sign of the Times vinyl, the original, from 87.
Right.
But that can get expensive, man.
Yeah.
But you just, you're right. It hits you it takes you back. It hits you in a place that it transports you back. The way Ernie described it is perfect. It transports you back. And I vividly remember, like in 85, around when the day came out. I mean, actually laying on the floor in front of these big ass speakers with the vinyl playing and the whole gatefold cover spread out in front of me, reading the lyrics.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's a feeling that has never been replicated through digital, through CD. It's a thing unique to vinyl, man. So be prepared to spend some money, bruh.
Oh yeah, no. The other album I've already ordered, and it was actually the first album that I loved, not the first I owned, but the first that I really loved was John Williams' Star Wars, the original.
Oh yeah.
So that record's coming, and I can't wait to just put the needle down. And just,
they put a set out of that like a year ago.
Yes.
Like all the original vinyls, the original vinyls.
Yeah,
You better
that's
get
a little
that,
out of my price range, but yeah. But anyway, let's get focused.
Hold on. Before we jump in, I want to follow up on what Mike said or what Ken said about jumping down that rabbit hole. Now, it was several years ago that Ken and Mike got me down the rabbit hole on, digital downloading music, and I lost my damn mind with all my high resolution stuff. Now,
hey, don't blame me on that, man.
I'm blaming both of you. Now, going back into vinyl, I too recently got a turntable, and I got the high-end cartridge on it, the whole shebang. And Mike, if you're going to start doing this, every so often you get vinyl for certain things, start looking at Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs. So looking at them right now, and they do have a remastered version of Superfly, which I guarantee you will sound better than the released one on vinyl.
All right.
If you're going to do it, go ahead, go all the way down, man, all the way in.
I know. So, and listen, I think I spoke about the record player thing in some other video or something. And man, some of the hardcore audio heads are, Mike, man, you ain't really. I'm like, so I know. I know. I'm baby stepping. So there we go. All right, let's do it. So the first track we're gonna start with, and what a head buster to start with. I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, the 1979 version, which is like, huh? I mean, I was mad that they put this as a single before the set came out, because this is like where did this come from? But let's just get into it. Dey Droppin, start with you, sir. What's your thoughts on this track?
Okay. Well, with this track here, I like that the rockabilly sound on it. You know, you can tell that it was from way earlier on, but I don't know how it would fit in those early albums because he sang it in his kind of regular register, and it would have been a shock to folks after having heard what he was making around that time with his high voice and all. And as far as comparing them, because you know you have to draw the comparison here because they're so similar, but they are similar. I like the properly released '87 version better, and for one reason, I like it better because of the fact that of that one little lyric that he adds at the end, and I've seen people talk about this as well, and I agree with a lot of what they say when he adds the one part, but I'll try. That to me changes the whole tone of this song completely. One thing I liked about that '87 version, and I got this back then, even as a 13-year-old, I go, oh man, you know, Prince is this player. He's this womanizer type of guy. At least that was a perception, right? In real life. But on this song here, the '87 version, he's a sympathetic guy to this woman who he knows has had it bad in terms of her love life and life in general, and she's trying to come on to him, and he's telling her, no, look, I'm not that guy, you know, and it's not going to be like that. I'm not that type of guy, and he's not trying to take advantage of the situation. But on this version here, by him saying at the end, but I'll try, I don't know, man, it sounds kind of like that douchey best friend, shoulder to cry on guy who turns into a creeper.
Dirty
That's what it
Mac.
sounds like. yeah, in a bad way though. You know, he's playing it bad, you know, and they just changed the meaning of the song. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong. It's a great song, and this version is nice in the way it sounds. But I'm so used to the message that I got from the other one that when I hear this, I'm like, ooh, record scratch. When I heard that at the end. And okay, so I got scores for all these here. So we're going to go back to the scoring on this one. The score on this one, though, I do like the other one better. This one is still a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay. I'm going to just jump in here and say my piece on this. To me, the fact that this song dates back so as far back as it does really just sets the tone for me to be like, you know what, this guy could draw from all periods that he had. If you would have told me even back when this came out that this came from a 79, I'd have been like, I wouldn't be able to believe you. And we talked later on in Prince's career, we said, oh, I bet you that song is, you know, that song is from this album. But it just goes to show me, even back then, in like Sign of the Times, he was still drawing from his earlier work. And it just goes to show how strong his songs were early on, which is unheard of. Like he had the ability to write something like this in 79. And he was writing stuff like this in 79. And it could have worked then, and it even worked even better when it came out on this, because the version when he redoes the song, and just that extended part of the released one is just golden. But I'm like, he already had all that in him. You know, it makes me remind me of like I Feel For You or something. Like it was a good song on the album, and then Shaka and them came out with it, blew it out the water, but it was still, the core song was so good that it works on all times. And it just goes to show me that this dude was a timeless artist. Even from his first early recordings could still be used many years later and still be just as bomb and a classic. And so, you know, I'm not even talking about, you know, how that song sounds versus this one, but it's still the same song. And it amazes me that, man, that song dated back so far away and it's still so good. So that's just my piece on the track. Big Ken.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, man. This is a great early rendition of what I consider to be a classic Sign of the Times track. And, you know, what I've learned online that the tracking for this song, you know, came about during the tracking and mixing sessions for the Prince LP, you know. So it kind of makes me wonder whether he maybe briefly considered using this in the place of Why You Want to Treat Me So Bad, because it's kind of in the same vein, right? Kind of an up-tempo rocker. I mean, you think about it, it possibly could have fit on Dirty Mind as well in place of When You Were Mine. It's that type of song, but but I agree with you. When you hear this, the DNA of what the version that we know and love is there, minus all of the, the blistering guitar solos, that brilliant middle section that you're talking about, and all the polish of the release song. That's not all there, but the core of the song is there, and you can clearly see, a great songwriter is in his early stages, just. To me, it serves as a sign of what was to come, man. So yeah, this was a surprise for me. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I tried my best when they released this as a single. I went for quite a while without listening to this song, listening to the singles, because I wanted to wait for the set. You know what I mean? And just kind of but after a while, temptation got the best of me, and I had to listen to it. So what are you gonna do?
Shoot it up,
I tried to fight it, man, but it didn't last long. But yeah, this is a great version of this song. And like you said, it just goes to show, man, that this guy was the real deal from a very early age.
Yes, sir. Big Sexy.
I too did not listen to any of the singles before I got my actual box. I didn't listen to anything. And when I heard this, the first vibe I got was, considering the time it was done, I got a little bit of a new wave taste to it. A little bit of that Gary Newman, the keyboards in the beginning. I'm like, okay, that'll work. And again, I'm with Ernie on this, and Ken. I don't think it would have fit on the Prince album, because, for lack of a better phrase, the theme in that was a little more mature than what we're doing on the Prince album. We're doing like, Why You Treat Me So Bad, Sexy Dancer, Let Me Be Your Lover, all that type of deal. And this is like, look, I can be your man for the weekend. That's about it. And I like how he put it all together. And to steal Ernie's phrase, it is a snapshot. It's a time capsule back to 1979. I can just close my eyes and see the members only jackets and the Jordache jeans running around, and I'm like, whoa, takes us all the way back to the end of disco, to the beginning of a whole new thing with some new wave in it. And it's like a window into what was cooking with him back in the day. And he was about the work, obviously, because, again, as far as I know, this is still just one man doing all this stuff. And it's amazing. So I love it just for that visual, in my mind's eye at least, alone. That's why I like it.
All right. Let's keep it moving. Next track is Teacher, Teacher. And it says the 1985 version. Actually, it says the original version on the sleeve here. I don't know if it says that for you guys too. So and we're going to hear this a little bit often through this. And, you're listening to guys who are quote unquote hardcore Prince fans who dived into bootlegs over the years. So I've heard this before. I almost sounds corny to say, I've heard this before, but I have heard this before, and this is a favorite of mine. Like, I've played, this ends up on a lot of playlists, but it was great to hear the quality of this version. But I will say this song we last heard this on the 1999 re-release that just happened. And that version of the song was new to me when I heard that. And for me personally, that is the version that I prefer, which is, I think it dates from 1982, which is, I guess, which is odd that they do this. That is the original version of the song, I believe. I'm not sure why they call this version the original version, because this is a version that Wendy and Lisa went in and added some things to Prince's original version. So I'm saying that I dig this. I already knew this and I loved this version before, but when I heard that 1999 version, I don't listen to this version anymore. I prefer that original version with Prince. This is great though. I mean, I'm not shitting on this. I don't take it the wrong way. This is the version that I actually know. like I've lived with this for years. Like this was when I hear that sound come on, it gives me that sort of parade, sort of whimsical Prince thing come in, and I love this. Here's my first question. I could have done without this being on here. And I'm only saying that because it was just on the previous release. And there's so much other material that they could probably have put on here. I could have done without this on here. But with that said, I love this song. I always have. I'll keep it a buck. I do skip this now. Like I skip this. I play the other version in place of this. But judging this song unto itself, I love it. But when I put them side to side, I prefer the original version. The way it sounds, you can hear more Prince's voice. I would prefer that version. We'll probably touch on this later. It's interesting to compare the Prince version of a song and then the Wendy and Lisa versions of the songs. I could see why he was like, yeah, let's see what y'all can do with some of this stuff. And I see how some of it is some good additions. On one hand, I could see how it's like, it's cool, but if it wasn't on there, I wouldn't bat an eye about it, if that means anything. And I'm saying this as a guy who loves Wendy and Lisa's albums, and I think they're fantastic, like they're the shit. But I'm just saying, I couldn't go either way. I prefer the original, if that makes any sense. With that said, I'm going to go to Big Ken. Sir, what do you think of Teacher?
I think you're whack. No, I'm just playing.
Let's get it.
No, I'm just tripping. I will say this, man. I tend to go the other way. I like the version that's on 1999, the original 1982 version. And you're right. It is vastly different than this, more stripped down, more focused on Prince's voice. But I like this version more, and I think they included it on this set because it's from Dream Factory sessions, which a lot of the Sign of the Times stuff was born out of. So, and it's like you said, we've had we've been part of the privilege that have had access to this for a long time, but it's really, really nice to have it in this quality.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have always loved this song and songs like this, man, because this is one of those kind of undercover experimental songs that I always loved that Prince did. And what I mean by that is, like, first off, like, I'm not sure what scale or mode the song is in, but to my ears, to me, there's a hint of a Middle Eastern kind of Mediterranean vibe in here, one. And then two, I've always dug the contrast between, like, the way it starts, you have that airy kind of harpsichord kind of patch, which kind of throws me into the mind of some like 60s psychedelic types songs. But that's contrasted with this heavy 4-on-the-floor kick drum beat, and then he sprinkles in organ, hand claps, finger cymbals, and to my ears, if you listen to it, buried in the mix, there's even a calliope, which is kind of like that steam whistle type keyboard patch, and it's just, you hear that during the choruses and the verses. And to me, that just adds up to one of these really dope against the grain type of songs that I came to love from Prince, because he was one of the very few artists that would be bold enough to be trying to put this kind of stuff out, to experiment with this kind of stuff. So I've always dug this song and songs of this ilk.
All right. Big Sexy.
I agree. When I hear the finger cymbals and the harpsichord, I just noticed the calliope as well. And and I could be wrong here, but whenever around that time, Wendy and Lisa would start tinkering with some of his stuff, those were things they would bring into it. I'm not saying, I don't want to imply that they were, locked into that particular style, because they weren't, but it just feels like they brought a lot of that to it, and a lot of that rubbed off or was included in Around the World in a Day. Now, I don't recall the 82 version off the top of my head. I'll have to go back and re-listen to it, but this sounds like it could have fit on, Wendy Lisa's Eroica album to me, because it's that has that much of their stamp on it, and that's a good thing because again, if they're capturing what was going on during that time, post parade, and this is what they were doing, and I like to see that window. I like to look in that window what they were doing back at that time.
Right, Dey Droppin.
Yeah, you know what, Ken? Thank you for mentioning that. I thought I'd heard something in there, but the Calliope. All right. Yeah, I have to listen for it some more now. So on this one here, one thing that I like, it's not as loud as some of these later boots that have come out of this that are very loud on this particular track. So it's been mellowed down, and it allows you to appreciate the sounds like the Calliope a lot more. It's much clearer, less muddy. As far as the song goes, it's good. It's quite catchy. I actually like Big Sexy. I forgot about the 1999 version. It totally blew my mind right now when you're saying that it was there. I got to go back and listen to that one as well. But I've always been partial to the Wendy Lisa Prince collaborative. I've always thought that brings out the best in Prince, at least during that time. It's when he got most experimental. And when those three are singing together, it always sounds extremely beautiful to my ears. This is a track that I've always liked. Nowadays, I've heard it so much now that I'll skip on to something else, but it doesn't by no means mean that it's a bad track. As far as the score goes, I really enjoyed it. It's very nostalgic for me. So on a nostalgic basis, it receives the score that it gets. For me, this is an 8 out of 10.
All right. And I just wanted to go back to something you said where you were saying, like, we love to hear the Prince, Wendy and Lisa collaborations. And, you feel like it brings something out of his music when they put something on there. And I always thought like that. That was my thing. Like, man, the Wendy and Lisa, when they would put, I love to hear their elements in. But now with these new deluxe editions, and I'm hearing the versions that before they touched them, I have to I'm actually rethinking some of those things I thought, because I almost kind of feel, and this, I'm not saying this in hate, I'm talking to the comment section, I almost kind of feel like they watered down some of his stuff, because when I'm listening, and this is a track that I particularly feel that way, when I hear the original version and I hear the version that I grew up listening to, I'm like, man, I love their version because that's what I know. But now listening to it, I'm like, damn, his shit was banging. Like, I see the difference. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just that I feel like his version has a feel to it that the feel is different. Obviously everyone has a different feel on it, but their feel is a different feel. They're coming from a different place, and I respect and love their place. But now I'm kind of looking like, I don't know if, I almost feel like they're watering down his sound a little bit. And when I say watering down, I mean it's a bad thing. It just puts a different take on Prince's sound, if that makes any sense. So it's not a bad thing. It's just they're coming from a different musical place than he does. And so they are adding to it. But now I'm listening to it, I almost feel like I kind of prefer I'm more in line. I think what it is, I'm more in line with the way he does his stuff than I am with theirs. You know what I mean? Like, I think he comes from a place that I recognize more. And so when I hear them put their stamp on it, I love what they do, but I love it because it's different than what he would have done by himself. But I feel his, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I can hear that groove in there, which may get muted into something else when they add things into it. We'll touch on this, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Go ahead.
I don't know, Mike. I'm thinking about menace to society. You done fucked up, right? now you done fucked up, right?
It is, but I'm just,
I'm just playing.
I know.
Well, one person's watered down is another person's enhanced.
Yeah, no, I'm just
sure.
People are cool with both.
That's why I said watered down may not be the right term. I don't want it to be a negative thing, but
I'm just, hey, come on, man. Y'all know me. I got a trip. That's just what I'm doing. This is messing around.
Well, let's keep moving. All My Dreams. I'll just say real quick, because I'm not going to take a lot of time. I love this track. I'm glad we get to hear it in its full-on audio greatness. I could have seen this come out before, and this, to me, this song sounds like something that would have just been either an album starter or the end of the album, and it would have just been this grand, beautiful thing. Like, I could just see, to me, this makes me think of the world after Purple Rain, and if he would have went a different direction, it would have ended with All My Dreams or something. I could just almost see him like going through the clouds or something, and just, everybody got their hands in the air in a celebration. I love this. This is like a timepiece type of song to me. Like, I said, I can see it in a Around the World in a Day-ish world or something. It just kind of really fits that tone. I don't know if it necessarily, in my mind, when I think Sign of the Times, when I listen to this, or I guess it's Dream Factory, but I'm glad it's on here. And I love it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We'll go to Big Sexy.
Excuse me. Just so I'm clear, we are on All My Dreams, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm getting, and I don't know why, but I'm getting a Kid Creole and the Coconuts vibe off this. I could easily see his band doing something with this. Again, you can tell the Wendy and Lisa vibe all over it because they're doing, what they're doing to it, and that's fine. And maybe it's like, to kind of go back to what Mike said, maybe it's still different because they're saying, you know what? Prince did his version. Let's go left and see what we get. And they went I don't see that out of their way in a negative sense by any stretch, but they went out of their way not to, mimic what he did. They're like, okay, he's doing this. We're going to do that and see what we come up with. We're going to merge his deal, his sensibilities with our sensibilities, and this is what we get. Because we're getting free reign to do this, and so here's what we got. I like it simply because it shows us part of the chemical process of how things got done. Now, one thing about vinyl that that you don't really get with digital is the ease of the skip. If you're skipping vinyl, you're getting up and going to the turntable and moving it over. And so with vinyl, you're really kind of not forced, but you're kind of like encouraged to listen to the whole thing as a unit, which is what I've done. And again, I like it because it's letting us into the creative process, and that's half the fun. How do we get to the masterpiece that is Sign of the Times? Well, we go through all of these changes, as we all know. We go through Crystal Ball, we go through Camille, and all the things back and forth with the label, back and forth with the band, and this is what we got to. This is part of that picture, and I love it.
Let me add this. I forgot this song. This song is, in my opinion, Prince heavy Slide out. He's singing exactly like Sly. If you go listen to the way Sly does his voice, I listen. No, I will admit it. I listened to this after I had some edibles. And let me tell you, you want to listen to some Prince and really go. I'm not encouraging this, but when this song came on, I swore I was listening to some Sly. I was like, this nigga is on Sly nuts, and I loved it. Like it's just so like, I was like, he could have just gave this to Sly. Said, here, man, like I love you so much. I want to sound like you so bad, like, because when you listen to it and if you have that in your mind, you understand what this is. I'm like, okay.
So Mike, yeah, you're the enhancement smoker then. Like
there you go. Yeah,
have you heard All My Dreams?
My digital pack
All My Dreams are weed.
Well, listen, I go to a whole show on, but you really want to listen to some Prince? I'm telling you, you might be in tears. But no, this song is straight like Sly, but I had to throw it in there. Go ahead, Dey Droppin.
Okay, this is one of those bootleg tracks that we've all heard throughout the years, and it's been one of those holy grail type of tracks, and that we've always wanted in crystal clear format. So we got that now, and it's perfect, and it's even a little bit better because now you get the full intro. The beginning fade in that before you wouldn't. If you compare it to other boots, they knocked off a few seconds off the beginning, and now you get that little bit of a percussive beat that comes in, and it's just a little thing in there, but it matters. So the whole thing's super clear. In one word, this song is a masterpiece. Like I said, it's one of those holy grails that's easily on par with the ultra long version of Crystal Ball, the Computer Blue hallway speech version, those type of songs. It's on par with those. And this song is just one of those magical songs that goes into so many different phases. And, do yourself a favor now that you have it on a digital format or could rip it from the CDs. Do what he says and play the second part of that record double speed if you want to hear Prince's regular voice, doing instead of the slow motion voice that he does in there. This is one of those tracks that, again, it's a time machine track, man. It takes you back. It takes me way back to when I was first listening to Boots. And this song it's got everything. It's all encompassing. It's the first of many 10s on this set.
All right, Big Ken.
Yeah, I'm going to have to co-sign what you guys say. I classify this song to be part of a group of songs that I call, and not just from this set, but this is a group of songs in his catalog that I call Exhibit A tracks. And what I mean by these are special songs. Like if you were trying to showcase and teach a newbie about what makes Prince special, like why are people on his tip so hard? This is an Exhibit A type of song for you to use, in your case. Or this is a song a super dope lawyer like Big Sexy could use to unequivocally prove the case for Prince's brilliance to a court. You see what I'm saying? Like, because this is the prototype of what we're talking about here. I mean, every aspect, in my opinion, of this song is just pure gold, man. You got that funky, playful groove. Now, for me personally, Mike, I never get Sly Stone vibes when I hear his voice. What I hear is, especially now with this remastered version, his voice inside the verses has that old time radio effect. Like you would those old time, radio announcers from the 20s or 30s or something. That's what I get from it. You got those trippy, imaginative lyrics. A submarine valiantly conquers a virgin sea. I mean, that's dope. The ingenious double speed playhouse, the whole Lisa painting the side of the train section. I mean, it's just stunning. And this song holds up, man. Like Dey Droppin said, I remember one of the very first bootlegs that I managed to get had a really, really crappy version of this song on it in terms of the sound quality. But even then, I just remember hearing it and thinking to myself, like, who else is even capable of dreaming up something like this? And the answer then was nobody. And the answer today in 2020 is still nobody. Nobody, period. Is even close to this. Just to even dream up this type of thing. And though, the input from Wendy and Lisa is there. I mean, and like Big Sexy says, they come together, they merge together, Wonder Twin powers activate. You know what I'm saying? It all goes to the positive to create a great song. But at the end of the day, Prince's word overrides everything. So if he didn't think whatever they contributed fit, it wouldn't have been in the song. And so it has to serve the full vision. It's just a perfect song, man. It's just, it stands the test of time all these years later. And I agree with you, Mike. To me, this would have been a perfect closing track for an album. And this, to me, is a showcase of that period and then this is why that period to me, between Around One Day Parade, and the beginnings of Sign of the Times, when they were all collaborating, I love it's gold to me, man, because you just like we talked about with Teacher, you got these very experimental, off the beaten path, against the grain, just type of tracks. It's just like they just got in the studio and just throw it down and just create something new. And that's the beauty of this, man. I'm glad to have it in this quality.
Right. All right, man. We're gonna keep it moving. Next up is "Can I Play with You?"
One last thing, if I can add one little bit to the song, because I forgot to do this, because this song has some of my most favorite Prince lyrics, if not probably my favorite Prince lyrics, because of the positivity on it. Right at the very end, the lyrics: "Goodness will guide us if love is inside us. The colors are brighter, the bond is much tighter. No child's a failure until the blue sailboat sails him away from his dreams. Don't ever lose, don't ever lose, don't ever lose your dreams." My voice cracks reading it because, it's so moving. Love it.
Yeah. You made me remember, and it's beautiful to hear those words, and then the way they sing them is just,
it comes to a crescendo at the end. Beautiful.
Don't ever lose. So powerful. All right, here you go, Ernie. Next is "Can I Play with You?" And I want to start with Big Ken on this one, because this is a track that was given to Miles Davis. And I always questioned if Miles was actually playing on this, but here is no question with this, because what I thought was very ingenious at the end of this song is they allow you to hear Miles sort of scatting a little bit or something, vocalizing at the end of this, which I was like, wow. I almost kind of feel like they don't. Let me say this real quick. And this is what I was trying to ask Eric Lees this the other day, if you saw the live stream we had. We really got to put some contextual respect on Miles Davis and what he actually, the fact that Prince, who was the sort of one of the new Jack, the new generation, and you have, somebody large like Miles Davis would take a track from you, actually he would get on it. That's some unheard of type stuff. And it just goes to show how much respect Prince had from, the real super, musical cats of the game, that Prince was in the league with them cats at that time. And the fact that they can actually have a track on here that has a great like this, there's always been a lot of talk that they have more songs together and stuff. But this is monumental, and we can look at it now, and I hope from generations they'll look and be like, man, Prince he wasn't just some pop artist dude. Like, he had the respect of some of the illest people ever to do it. And this is one of the examples, man. So when you hear this song, and then the fact that Miles got up on that stage and they was getting down, it's a head buster. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to hear from Ken. Ken knows way more about the Miles Davis stuff than I would ever do. And so I would love to hear what you think about this.
Oh, I love this song, man. And just to validate what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, if you read Miles Davis's autobiography, he talks about Prince in this autobiography and how much that he dug him and respected him and how talented he was. And then we all remember from the Eric Leeds conversation that it was reciprocal. Miles, really admired and respected him as well. So that's what makes that concert, so special to see them. And especially now with the context that we all know from talking to Eric Leeds, about how they kind of, like two boxers sizing each other up, kind of dancing around each other because neither one wanted to fanboy out too much to the other, which is, I find that hilarious, but that's so dope. But yeah, man, this is one of those kind of songs that I always felt like, only Prince is capable of dreaming this up. I mean, I listen to this, I get, and it's probably not coincidental, I get, Flesh, I get Madhouse vibes from this with all the multiple sections and the complicated arrangement. The bass work on this song is ferocious, man. And, I know Marcus Miller, one of Miles Davis's bassists, he's a bad boy. I know that he came in and did some overdubs on some of this track, but my gut is telling me most of that thumping that we hearing, that's Prince doing that, because it's just way, way too funky. Love all the different sections, particularly at the 3-minute 55-second mark. You get that sped up guitar solo. There's a section at like 5.5 minutes, 5 minutes 21 seconds, I think, which is super funky. I wish they could have extended that out even a little bit longer. But like I said, it just all reminds me of the Flesh, the Madhouse, how free they were, but they were funky. And, this track was most likely considered for Miles's Tutu album, which was like the fifth album that he had done after his comeback. Because he retired in like 75, after he did all his Electric Miles stuff with all his groups then. He retired in 75. He kind of disappeared off the scene for about 6 years, resurfaced in 81. And then he started making albums again, but his sound had changed by then. So he wasn't playing, that those ferocious solos like he used to do, 10 years or so prior. So he was doing, kind of sparse solos here and there. And that's Miles's style of playing anyway. He's a master of space. He's not, some trumpet players, they'll play a flurry of, just 16th notes, that never was Miles's style. His style, he knows the value of space. He could say more with 5 notes than some trumpet players can say with 100 notes. It's just how you play them, where you play them, and the intent when you're playing them. So you kind of get that vibe here, in this song. Like Miles is not doing a whole lot of blistering solos around. He's just kind of dropping flourishes here and there. And like you say, you hear a little bit more of it toward the end, toward the crescendo at the end. And you got to figure, man, he was around 60 years old, when this was done, and he died, man, a few years later, man, in like 91. So he was on the tail end, in terms of the ferocity of his playing. But it's still dope, man. It's still Miles. And just what this song represents, to have two titans together, is mind blowing. I think though that this song was probably a bit much. If you've ever heard the Miles Davis Tutu album, it's one of his most popular albums that he did when he came back. But I think this song would have been a little too much for that album. But I do know that Miles dug a lot of what Prince did because he was integrating movie star into his concerts. He was doing the movie star, dun 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 dun. He was doing that in concert. Miles was. So he was paying attention to what Prince was doing, so that's really dope.
Word. And also super shout out to Eric Lees, man. He cutting up on this track too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, man. Dey Droppin. Go ahead.
Okay, and now, can you guys correct me on this? Was this released before on a bootleg? This particular version?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was? Okay, because I know I had a bootleg set that had about 4 or 5 different versions of this song here. It may have been included in there, but I, for the life of me, could not find it in preparation for this. But I will say, okay, then I know I have heard it. I like another version better than this one because there's other versions that I've heard where it sounds darker. And to me, the lyrics of the song and it just lends itself to a darker tone. So I've always liked another version of it. I think it's the version that fades in with the guitar screaming and Prince yelling. I think it's that version that I'm talking about, and it just sounds different. Maybe the fact that it was lower quality bootleg quality also added to it.
Plus, I think there were versions that were at different tempos. That as well, whether they were wrong or not, I'm not sure. But
yeah, and they may have been intentionally sped up or slowed down as people quote released them or leaked them, whatever. But I do like other versions of it because that's kind of what I grew up with on that, And but this one does get fun from the 4-minute mark forward, like Ken was saying. I think prior to that, it's a little bit. Originally, I had the word messy, but no, that's not the right word. I think it was too busy for me compared to other versions. The first 4 minutes. After that, though, it picks up. It mellows out and finds its groove really nice from like the 4-minute mark forward. So the last few minutes for me saved the track from it being kind of obscure, unnecessarily obscure. And they bring this version from the messy obscurity that it starts off with up to a 9. I like this track. It's really good, but I do like other versions better.
And I was trying to find a song that it reminds me of. It's another unreleased song. Come Electra Tuesday. You can go. You might even find it on YouTube.
A little bit. Yeah.
It almost sounds like it's in the same vein, and even like a Love or Money or something. It's like some of these songs. I could see if there's a whole direction Prince could have went with this, where it's like they're kind of complicated tracks. They're funky. And you kind of said that it sounded like there was a lot going on there is a lot going on with it. And sometimes it conflicts. It seems like it's conflicting. But when you sit down and listen to him, you can hear like, yo, this dude is actually grooving his ass. I mean, it's just like a very complicated, intense type of a funk type of thing. Like and then it's actually precise, but it's like, man, because he's got all these different changes, and I'm like, man, you have to really be paying attention of what he's doing. But he has a number of songs like that, and I almost felt like there could have been a whole album of that. I don't know if it'd have been successful, but it was like he was so like complex with his shit. This is like a complex type of a song.
And complexity works good sometimes. Good example is also Computer Blue, the hallway speech version. That's a complex song, but I think it works very well. But I think sometimes complexity works against a song sometimes, and this is an example, in my opinion, where it kind of works against it, at least at the beginning. Again, from the 4-minute mark forward, it doesn't get as complex. It kind of calms down. Like the Tourette song, or not Tourette's, the ADHD song done took its medicine and it calmed down. It took effect come 4 minutes. And then it really sounds nice to me from that point forward.
Yeah, and would this be one of the first songs that he's done that kind of like what he does on was it Alphabet Street? No! Like he does it here first, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I just kind of picked up on that. But Big Sexy. Make sure you get on this.
It's Miles Davis. So, and I'm not nearly the aficionado that Ken is, but over the years I've grown to appreciate and listen to a lot more of it. And there's a personal connection here because Ken mentioned the autobiography. Now, as Mike knows, I was very, very close to a retired judge here in Sacramento, and he had that book personally autographed to him by the gentleman who wrote the book with Miles. I believe his name was Quincy Troop, because they knew each other. And he told me once a few years ago that, a lady friend had misplaced the book and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, let me track one down for you. So I tracked him down a copy, and we got to Mr. Troop, and he signed it for him again and all that, which was great. And then, he asked me about Prince because, as Ken mentioned, Prince was in the book. I said, oh, yeah, I'm a big Prince fan. And we started talking about Prince and talking about Miles and them working together. It was a lot of fun. And this song, along with Crucial, along with what you see at the concert, all wraps that up. You see, like Ken mentioned, you see two titans of the industry here, and that's something I haven't seen in a while. Now, we saw it, and again, I don't want to I'm not throwing shade at anybody. We saw it back in 83, when Eddie came on the Beat It song, but you really don't see stuff like that, or two people who are equally heavy come out there and just play, just work on something together. It's great. I love it. I wish there was more of it, but whatever there is, I will gladly take, because it has the effect on both fan bases. It opened up the judge to listen to more Prince. It opened me up to listen to more Miles Davis, and that's only a good thing, because if the music is out there and more people are appreciating it, learning about it, it just stays alive forever. And that's a good thing.
Let me add one other thing, Mike, just to button it all up. Just you guys were mentioning earlier about, that is, kind of dense and chaotic in the beginning and all that kind of stuff. Just keep this in mind. I think that, that was by design. I think that Miles could appreciate that, because remember, now we're talking about Miles Davis, right? We're talking about the guy that invented fusion. We're talking about the guy that went into a studio in 1969 and he invited two drummers, some Indian sitar and tabla players, electric sitar players. He had about 5-6 different guitarists, bass guitars, regular guitars. He had numerous keyboard players, Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea, and somebody else, and Keith Jarrett. He had 3 different keyboard players. And he went into the studio with no written music. And he said, okay, I want you to play this melody. And he just hummed it. dum, 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 and that's it. And hit record, and they recorded about an hour's worth of a riff off of that, where everybody's playing all at the same time. And it's a masterpiece. I'm talking about Bitches Brew. So I think that Miles could have easily picked up what Prince was doing. And I don't think Prince was necessarily trying to take it that far out in terms of trying to match Bitches Brew or anything of that. I'm just saying the busyness that you hear in the song. Because you're right, you got that funky bass line, you got the drums, you got the, you got Eric and Atlanta doing their thing, and whether that's him or Levi or Marcus Miller, the multiple bass lines going, I think all that's by design. You know what I'm saying? And Miles, I think he dug it, just based off his history. So, it's just an observation.
And what's interesting to add too is that it wasn't Miles that didn't want to use it, it's Prince that pulled the song back, which is
right, because he heard the rest of the material that was going with Tutu, and he didn't think it fit, and he was probably ultimately right. Again, Tutu was one of his later albums, so it wasn't like soft or anything, but it wasn't, it was. Can I play with you was way more active, way more powerful than what the rest of the tone of the album was. So he pulled it out of respect for the artist, but. I just think that, it's interesting to me. I always found it interesting that Prince was willing to put something out there more hardcore, like to put this out like, okay, I can hang with you on this level. What you think about this? And that was the jumping off point. Right. So,
touche, Ken. Well played.
Which leads us into another song, which to me is sort of, in my mind, sort of complexity a little bit. A Wonderful Day. To me, it's the same sort of vein. And, I've, of course, heard this music in the movie Under the Cherry Moon and, tripping out that, he created a song out of this. But the thing about this song, when I'm listening to the verses at first, and it's, and he's kind of doing when he gets to the chorus, and again, I just love Prince's voice, and he just knows how to make it so you just can't, it's just so irresistible. But the part where it's just a wonderful day, baby, and that gets me. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. Now I get it. And I'm pulled in, and I love when it goes to the chorus and the way he's singing it. And then Wendy and Lisa's voice. I love this track. And at first when I heard it, I couldn't understand. Not that I couldn't understand it, but it was one of those tracks where it's like, man, this is a complicated, you got to really sit down, it's that da 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 da, music and snare and all that. But I'm like, there's actually a groove in this. This is really his shit. It's still his shit, but he's on some, he's at a higher level with his playing. And it just took me a second to get into it, but I love this song, and I'm glad this is on here so I could really hear this. But this is one of my favorites on this right now. So this all I want to put on there. Dey Droppin.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard this version before. The Prince version. Was that one out before?
I
don't think so.
I don't think so, right? Yeah. Because I have in my notes here that I've never heard the version before, and I didn't think I had. I do like this version a click more than, say, the Revolution version. If anything, because I can understand what he's saying better. I can understand the lyrics better on the Wendy and Lisa version where they sing a lot of it. I can't understand what they're saying. But I like the previously heard Revolution version as well. And, musically, this song, it's wild and fun. I just think it needs to be more wild and fun to make it perfect. And I wish this would have been something that he would have played live back in the day. Because imagine how crazy the band was then, and even carrying it over to the Parade era band, how they would have gone with this. It would have been nuts. But as it stands here, like I said, I like it's weird. And eventually we'll get to the other one somewhere down the line, and I'll kind of elaborate on it more. But this one, it's a 9 out of 10. It's good. I like it a little bit more than the other one, but I like the other one a little bit more than this one too. It's kind of weird.
All right. Big Sexy.
It gives me two different vibes here. One, that is not complete, that it's not done. It's like something he got on tape and put in the vault. It's like, I'm going to come back to this. Or it's like Life Could Be So Nice Part 2. Like the long version.
That's a good one.
And it just sounds incomplete. Again, not saying it's bad by any leap of the imagination, but I don't think it's done. And the way the drums hit, and I would have put this together until Mike mentioned it. It does come straight from Under the Cherry Moon. Those couple of scenes where it's the background music, and he built around that. I just don't think the building was done yet. I mean, unfortunately, didn't get a chance to revisit it and work on it more, but that's okay.
All right, Big Ken.
I don't know, man. I gotta say, I love the butterscotch and chocolate theme, man, because that's what this is. This is the butter. There is no time that I can hear this song and not think of that scene. When the officers come to take your ass to the joint, this me. I mean, come on now. That in and of itself is why this song is dope. I mean, but this has that really quirky quality to it that makes it stand out. And I'm with you, Mike. And when the first time I heard it, the beat is unorthodox because it's all over the place, right? And I think part of it is also the choice of the synth drum kit that he's using, right? It's a lot of like reverb or whatever on the side. It's just really unorthodox. It's not your standard, kind of funky type beat, but it is funky, right? Once you get used to it and you parse and break it down, it's pretty dope. And then the bass line is dope. The vocal arrangement is dope. I agree with you, especially in the chorus is the whole, sha sha, ooh, wonderful, all that in the background. And that's more pronounced on the Wendy and Lisa version because I believe this is like the vocal guide version that he had. In fact, the lyrics are slightly different. There's a couple of different lines on this version versus the one that Wendy and Lisa have. You know what I'm saying? The Wendy and Lisa's, the version that they're on it. And again, he's got the calliope in this song, and it's even more pronounced in this side, and in this song than it was in Teacher Teacher. And Teacher Teacher was kind of buried in the mix slightly, but this one is right front and center. That whole steam whistle type of sound. And this is just a favorite of mine, man. I love this version. There's the 12-inch extended version on the third vault disc that we'll review in next couple shows. All of it is dope, and it just takes me back to when Under the Cherry Moon the movie was out. And I just remember seeing in the theater, watching that whole butterscotch and chocolate scene, and then this music is in the background. And at that time, I like to think at that time I was a junior budding completist, a Prince completist at that time. So I had everything up that you could have at that point, right? So I'm like, what the hell is this? Where can I get this? Right? And I remember just being obsessed with like, where can I find this song? And of course, it took a while before I could get my hands on it, but yeah, this is dope, man. This is one that I really, really like this version, and I like the Wendy and Lisa version. To me, they're all great.
All right, I gotta correct myself. Are we done with this song?
Well, no, I just had a quick question for Ken on what would you call it then? With the way the beat is, would you say that it's staggered from the rest of the song?
No, it's just the beats in time. It just seems like it's just unorthodox because it's like like Mike was saying, like it's combined with like drum rolls and stuff like throughout the main beat, right? As opposed to just like a main beat. You think of something like I don't know, like You Got the Look, right? It's just the main beat is going. The main beat is going. Sheila might add her little, timbales and stuff to as flourishes off to the side, but the main beat you can grasp right away. This one kind of just right out the box is just, and it's just it's surprising at first until you catch it. Once you catch it, then you're good. Okay. So
and he has a lot of tracks. I mean, back in the day, it was a lot of music that hit us. I think in that same way, like
right,
you're like, whoa, what is this? What's going on here? And when you get in, he's like, oh, okay.
I think the craziest idea would be like 7779311. That one is just the beat is so wild.
No, that's actually a very good analogy. It is to me something similar to. I mean, not exactly the beat's similar, but I'm saying you're right. That beat is not your standard. It's funky as hell, we know, but it's not your standard beat, and it takes a minute to catch it, right? But once you catch it, you got it. Now you know where it's at. You can catch the pocket, but it might take a few measures for you to really get it, as opposed to something that grabs you right away.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I wanted to correct something. Earlier on, I was talking about Teacher, and I said the 1985 version, and I was like, but it says the original version. Well, I'm sorry. What I meant was Strange Relationship is titled original version. And it is not the original version. The original version is still unreleased because this song actually was done in 83 by Prince at his home studio. This version that's on this release was Wendy and Lisa's take on the song, and they did this 2 years after. So this was from 85. So this is what I'm questioning why they call this the original version when it's not. I don't know what that's all about. I want to hear that 1982 version of Strange Relationships, which I don't know if they have that, but boy, that would have been a head buster if that was on 1999, I suppose, because it's from that era. But nonetheless, just judging this version here, heard some of this version before. This is a longer version of this song, sort of extended version. This is one of my favorite Prince songs ever, Strange Relationship. Man, stop it. Like, I love this track, and I've heard this one before, with the centaur sound and everything. So I was like, okay, I'm here because I want to hear it in this great sound quality, which this has. Love this. This even has an extended sort of, where it faded out before. This continues on, and I love this. So this is dope. I can't complain about this. I love this, but my only nitpick is to say this is not the original version. I do want to hear that original version. I don't know how close this is to that, but I would love to hear. I'd love to hear the original version. That's all I want to say. But I love this song. I can't critique it at all. Go to Big Ken.
Man, I don't give a damn what version it is. This song is the first bombshell of the vault tracks for me. Like when we had when this set came out, look, I've heard Silent Times. I've listened to it damn near monthly, right? So I first went straight to the vault tracks, and I dug them all up to this point. But this is the one where I'm like, okay, it's worth it just for this. Right off the bat. This was the first moment that I had that feeling, because one of my biggest complaints, and it was a nitpick, but one of my biggest complaints with the original album version, because I'm with you. I love the song Strange Relationship. I think it's one of the gems in his catalog, right? But I was always salty when they faded it out on the original album, because I just knew there was more funk to it. It had to be. There's just no way that it couldn't be. And so when I had this, and I'm sitting in, I got the headphones on, and exactly at like 3:51, when that chicken scratch guitar comes in there, man, full stop, I'm smiling there, dude, grinning ear to ear, like, yes, finally. Like just drop, and it's just an extended groove. He just lets it groove with the chicken scratch guitar, that funky hi-hat pattern. He's got, and you guys know, I've mentioned it before in previous shows, and even in this show, man, I've always been partial to, Middle Eastern and Indian instrumentation in songs when it's used right, because it adds certain textures and colors and moods to a song when it's used right. And this is one of those ones where, at least in the, quote unquote original, whichever version it is, the Wendy and Lisa, that version, they use that sitar, and that sitar sound, tabla sound is very prominent in this. And I love that. So when that extended groove comes in at 3:51, you got that blended in with the chicken scratch guitar, man, and that sitar drone sound going on in the background, man, to me personally, that's a 10 full volume moment, man. I love it. So this is great. I sheer ecstasy for me when I first heard that extended break, and it goes on for another couple minutes, man, just with the groove, and that's what I always wanted.
I agree. I'm gonna put my hater hat on for 1 second.
Uh-oh.
I do this with Ken, because I love going back and forth. But I agree with everything you said. I just feel like I question if that's Prince doing that guitar thing like that. It doesn't really sound like that would be the funk he would have, the feel he would have did it. That's why I want to hear this original version, man, because I feel like we might be missing. I think there's still some funk left off the table, man. Like, I don't know, because
possibly.
Because I'm not hearing, that when in the album version when it starts to fade out, whatever that keyboard sound that. I know somebody's about to cut up. I was like, oh,
right. That's probably Prince. That's probably Prince doing that because that's that Parliament and that burning well for any Parliament cats out there. That
we're not really.
Well
you don't really hear that, but we're not. But I seem like that's missing off of this. That's why I was like, there's something.
No, he does a little bit of it at 504 in this toward the end. He does a little bit of that. It's in there. I mean, you're right. It very well could be Wendy on the guitar, but I guess my point is it don't matter to me if it's him or Wendy on the guitar. I'm saying just that this song has always, to me, it needed to go on.
Yes, I agree with you. That's
right. Like that album version, just it was great. And you could tell this was when he was probably salty with them or whatever, because he buried the sitar tabla, the Middle Eastern vibe. That's buried in the mix, and it's more, the percussion is more, more heavy, and it drowns it out. But I just was always like, dude, come on, man, that's too short. Like, if any song needed an extended version,
that's
it's this
the one. Yeah, that should be the 12-inch joint.
Right.
I just feel like I think there's still like. I'm being a completist. I want to hear that uncut.
I agree with you.
Uncut shit. But this is dope too. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this though. Now, if the original, quote unquote, the original version would be 82, I mean, there's a possibility though that would be a completely different vibe altogether. Because now 82, that's 1999.
That's what I'm saying.
Time.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying that, but it might not have been. It might have been funky. We don't know because you're right. We never heard it. But I'm almost curious whether that would even be a completely different song. It might not even be in the same vein of what we know as Strange Relationship now.
Compare it to the songs that they have released where now we can go back and hear the Prince version versus the Wendy and Lisa versions. They're not super different. You know what I mean? So I don't think this would be any different. I don't think they just came up with this is a Prince groove. You can hear, obviously, the song is the song, right? To me, the sitar thing is dope and all of that stuff, it actually, adds stuff to it. But this song to me is that R&B funk, that bottom. I just know that, and if you tell me it comes from 82, then I already know what vein he was going in because it's the DNA of the song. I can imagine what the just the super Prince-ified version must sound like. I just need to hear that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you. I want to hear it too, but I'm just saying 82, a lot of things were different. I mean, you can go back and listen to Tick Tick Bang and then go back and listen to 82's Tick Tick Bang. Vastly different. Mm-hmm. We just talked about I can never take the place of your man. The basic DNA of the song is there, but it's vastly different.
But teacher is from that same period. Right. I'm just saying, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying just the songs from that period versus and the songs they released that are on this album that are from those same periods and the differences, they're not that different.
True.
So I'm saying it's just probably, this may be, again, this could only be if it's from 82 and he's doing R&B-ish, then we know what that sound like, right?
Right.
What's that one song that was the headbuster of that album to me? It was new. We are the new power generation. What is it?
Bold generation?
Yeah, like I said, don't let it be on some like bold generation style. Then I need to go and personally slap Dwayne, Michael Howe, all of them if they ain't put that out. But that's all I'm saying. We need to hear that though. I'm not shitting on this.
If the state is listening, then y'all got to come up off it then. All right.
Yeah, they have to.
They got to come up off it.
And I'm saying, and I'm going hard on them about it because if you can say that this is the original version, stop. That's why I'm stop it. Don't say that. Just say this was the 1985 version.
Yeah, my take on it is, if anything, that might have been an oversight in their part. You're right. They could have just worded and just said 1985 version, and that would have been that. Yeah,
And as detailed as they are, That's why I'm like, come on now.
That might have just slipped quality control in terms of the wording there. But regardless of that, man, to me, dude, this is one of the songs on this set that gets played at full volume and on repeat. Because when that groove comes in, man, it's just like, man, I love it.
Yes, sir. All right, big sexy. Go ahead.
I love this song. I always have, always will. But what really captures my attention about it, honestly, is yesterday during the chat with Eric and Matt and Dr. Fink and D'Angelo, actually, someone mentioned, I kind of came in the middle of it, that they stopped playing this song live.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes. So
what was going on with that?
Yeah, we were asking, like, they did the song in that first concert where they introduced the band at First Avenue.
Yeah.
And that's to me the best version of that song, period, in my opinion. But then we were wondering why they never played it again. And Eric was saying he felt like because during the longer part of that song, there was a whole dance routine with Cat, Wally, and those guys. And he was saying from his vantage point, the audience sort of lost interest. And he didn't think the dance routine part worked very well. And so then he felt like the reason why Prince sort of pulled it is because the audience didn't take to it. So he just decided not to really play it in the show anymore. I was kind of shocked by him saying that because I was like, man, I don't know how the audience took it. But I mean, musically, that shit was fire. And then he was talking about, I think D'Angelo asked, well, it seemed like when you guys even played it in rehearsals, it was even different from that version. It was more sped up. And he was like, yeah, sometimes Prince would just, he want to play the songs faster or whatever. But he was saying he thinks the reason why they stopped playing it because he just didn't think that dance routine part sort of worked. And he was like, and then he went into the whole squirrel meat. And he was like, people were like, what the hell is squirrel meat? Like, he was rapping about squirrel meat and it just seemed too far out there. But I don't know, like I said, for me as a fan, I'm like, are you crazy? Like that was bananas. But that's what that was. All right, well, Dey Droppin, go ahead.
All right, I'll keep mine quick here. So the previous boot that was out on this one, the one that we've all heard, was roughly around 4 minutes 43 in length. This one 6:41, and things start to vary right around the 3:50 mark. This is way better than the previous boot because of the way it takes it. In fact, to kind of chime in on what you guys are talking about, it wouldn't be unheard of to think that the majority of Prince songs that are probably 2 to 3 minutes in length, as we hear them, boots included, probably have a 12-inch version that he recorded at some time or another. So if you say that this version here is different than the previous version that you heard, yeah, it might be. And this might be the 12-inch version that he did of this song back then before he did the version for that ultimately came out on Sign of the Times. And it wouldn't be hard to believe that he did a 12-inch version of that version of it as well. So, I hopefully he did, and we get to hear it one day. But for this one here, I do like this version better than the previous boot. I think it's the perfect alternative track to what's already a great song as released on the album proper. And this is another 10 out of 10.
All right. Let's keep it moving. Man, we still got some more songs to do. Next one is Visions. And this is a solo piano number by Lisa Coleman. And real quick, I'm going to keep mine very short because we still got other songs to get through. I'm very familiar with this track. This was on a bootleg years ago. Somebody had put out a bootleg Dream Factory CD. I don't know if you guys remember that. And it had like the CD art and everything.
Yeah.
Years ago. The quality of the sound quality wasn't like as good as this. But I always thought that this was a great sounding piece of work. I come to find out that this was actually officially released on by Wendy and Lisa. It was like on the deluxe edition of the Oroka album. They put this track, and there was 2 or 3 other tracks, I guess, are all recorded during the same session. They were all like instrumental stuff. And I think the title of this, when the release version of this, is Minneapolis 1. So I dig this. I would, if I was going to nitpick, I would have said they probably could have left this off and put something else only because this has been out before. But I am not mad at this on here at all. This is cool. This is not Prince. I'm just keeping it a buck. But I think it does. I love that it's on here. I'll say that. Big Sexy.
Co-sign everything you just said. I like it because I like the way Lisa plays, and recently she just did like a little solo thing, which I don't have, unfortunately, but I bet it sounds a lot like this. And, you know, sometimes like what Ken said about Miles, sometimes you just want to let the air around the notes breathe. That's what she's doing here. She's not trying to be, you know, all Stradivarius and things like that. She's like, just let it breathe. And I like it. It could have been longer for me.
All right. Big Ken.
Yeah, there's not much to say about this. I agree with you guys. This is just a very beautiful solo piano interlude. I love the colors that she's painting with these extended chords that she's using in this piece. And as far as I understand, this would have been the opening for Dream Factory, and I could see why that he would have chosen this to be the opening song, because it does set a certain mood and tone, and I like it a lot.
Let me add real quick. I'm going to go to Ernie to finish it up. Regarding Dream Factory, real quick, and I get why you put this on here if you're trying to illustrate the road to Sign of Times. I just wish they did this. We could have a lot of these. They didn't have to make a disc, but if they had a little insert card that came with this special edition, like they have for the digital download here, and if they would have been like, here is a link to download the proper track listing of Dream Factory. That would have that's something they should have they could have done. That way you could really understand the context of when you have a track like this, and just to be able to have the completest part of it and say, we're not going to do a retail release of this. There wasn't enough space to make the disc of this or vinyl, but here's the digital download of the actual track list of all the songs in the proper order. That would be the one thing they could have done. But that said, we'll go to Ernie.
I agree with that, by the way. That'd be an awesome idea. Well, just to nitpick on this one a little bit, oddly enough, the very first note that's played is cut off a little bit. If you compare it to the bootlegs before, it actually is a little bit longer. I don't know why they did that. It's kind of a give and play, a plus and minus to this, though, because this version does have a proper ending in that the note fades out properly. And even if you listen closely, you have to kind of turn it up or be on headphones. You can even hear somebody even saying, stop, at the very, very end, very, very end of the note. I don't know if it's Prince or if it's Lisa saying it, probably Lisa, but it is a beautiful track. I co-sign everything you guys have said. It's a 7 out of 10, only because, we've all heard it. And it's part of this snapshot in time of the album, but it's part of the makeup of the album, I guess you could say. It's a third cousin removed in this family, but it's a beautiful song nonetheless. 7 out of 10 again.
Next up, The Ballad of Dorothy Parker with Horns. This is one of the first tracks I played because I was like, this illustrates the great editor of Prince, the great restraint of Prince, because this is a perfect Prince song. Like the version we all know, it's a perfect Prince song in my opinion, one of his classics. And I was like, oh, you mean to tell me they're gonna have Eric Leeds and them on this? It can't be nothing but dope. Like, it's the horns don't really fit, in my opinion, very well with this. It's interesting to hear this, and I don't hate the horns, but I am so ingrained of hearing it the way that I hear, and this doesn't come in. How can I compare it? It would be like another lever hole in your head. The album version versus the version on the 12-inch, and Eric and Atlanta Bliss have that little interlude section, blows the song to a whole other level. Like I can never not hear it with that added onto it. They just add so much. This is the opposite of that to me. This does not enhance it. And as the song goes on and we get a little longer take on this song, I actually felt like the horns, like, can you just move those out of the way? I want to hear this additional music properly. But this is very interesting. I'm glad they put this on here just to show, like, yes, he was tinkering around with his songs. And sometimes, some people may love this. Sometimes it doesn't enhance or it's not better than the released. But I love that this shows the process that he was considering. Like, yeah, let me see what we can do on that. So I love it for that aspect of it. But I actually, it's weird. It's not like I can't listen to this. I choose not to because it's just, in my mind, it's too disruptive. And it may take me some time before I can be relaxed enough to feel those horns. I think the horn parts are dope. I just don't feel like it fits into this on two reasons. One, I'm so used to hearing them without, and then even listening to this, it still doesn't feel like they're integrated like they should be or something. It's just an odd thing. It's just one of those things where it just doesn't really work. But I love Eric Lee's, but I'm like, this is the one time it really doesn't really go with it. But I'm glad this was on here. Big Ken, I'm curious to hear what you think about it.
Okay, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. Because you're whack.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Because you're whack.
No, I'm kidding. You, Mike, you know I got love for you. No, all I'm going to say is, yeah, the Ballad of Dorothy Parker as is perfect already. I agree with you. It is, no doubt about it. But personally, I like the horn lines here. The horn lines here, in my opinion, do not detract from it. To me, it adds a little bit of something to it, but it's not super overt. I look at it this way. Think of it like this. The horn lines here are like adding a garnish to a finely prepared meal, right? It just adds more to the overall presentation, but the base meal is what it is, right? And as I've listened to this more and more, the line that Eric and Atlanta are playing through, to me, it does fit because it's not overpowering. They're not playing it like, throughout every verse. It's just at certain spots they're kind of sticking it in. And now it sticks in my mind. In fact, the other day I was listening to the original Ballad of Dorothy Parker, and I found myself humming that sax line, in the original version. So to me, it just thinks, I think that it would have been reversed, right? Like if he would have released it on the original album with the horns, and we had grown to ingrain that song the way we have all these years, and then they come out with the version without the horns, we'd be saying that it's missing, right? I think it's just partly perspective in terms of what we used to and what we've grown to love. But either way, I think both versions are equally great. And then I'll just close it with this. I mean, online, if you do a little research, supposedly in June of '86, Claire Fisher overdubbed some elaborate orchestral arrangement to this that ultimately didn't get used. Now that it would have been something I would have loved to hear if it was in the condition to be presented, but maybe it's not. Maybe they don't have the recordings or they're degraded, but that would have been something interesting to hear a full string arrangements on top of that, what we have here. But that may have just from the description of it might have been too much, but I would still love to hear it if it could ever be presented.
All right, Big Sexy.
As much as it's great to have Ken back in the fold, I got to disagree. I'm with Mike on this one. The horns and Eric Leeds can do no wrong in my mind, but it just doesn't fit here. It's just to use your fine dining analogy, it's like you got your perfect filet mignon. Ah, yes, medium rare. And what wine would you like with that, Mr. Wiggins? Well, I like something, a little bold Cabernet. And they bring me a Riesling. No, it doesn't fit. And that's okay, but this one, no, it just does not work for me. The horns don't fit here. Take that Riesling somewhere else. No.
All right, Dey Droppin.
Well, Ken, it's 3-1. Sorry. Because,
that's all right.
yeah.
I've been the villain before. I ain't tripping. Hey, I got Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. I'm cool.
But it's like that.
But I get what you're saying though, because for example, another example on this is when I heard was it So Dark after having heard Dark, and I heard So Dark on the Crystal Ball collection. I thought, ooh, where's the horn? So because when you hear it first and then you kind of miss it when you don't hear it. So I get that. I get the idea that if this would have been released that way, maybe, but having been so used to the original, it's hard for me to enjoy this. To me, the horns, maybe if they were a little bit in further back in the mix, deeper in the mix, it might be a little bit better. They're too much in the front. This version is longer than the album version, but it seems to allow, it's more like a looping part of the last part of the song that we know. And it allows just for the horn to do its thing. And it gets a little bit, it wears out its welcome. To me, this is a more curiosity track. It's not one I'll go back to often. Even on the Sign of the Times podcast that the estate is releasing, on one of the parts, the girl who does it, she spoke with Eric Leeds and told them, "Oh yeah, it's included in here. That version's included." His reaction was, "Oh, cool." That was it. Not, "Oh man, this is you got to hear this version. That we really went crazy." No, it was just, "Oh, cool." So it kind of tells you what.
Well, no, what that tells me is that originally that was never the intent. The intent wasn't for them to go crazy on it. Again, this is not, to me, to use what Mike said earlier, this is not another level hole in your head. This is not the middle section of I Can Never Take the Place of Your Man with some elaborate horn lines and riffs. That's not the point. Again, in my opinion, this is just a little light line that's sprinkled in around the choruses, just a little flourishes here and there. That's all. And don't get it twisted. I'm not in any way saying that this is better than the original version. I'm saying that when I listen to both, I don't find, and maybe it's just my jazz inclinations again, because I'm so used to hearing horn lines interspersed in songs and what they're, what the purpose is for. I'm open to the fact that, like Mike said, you're right. This is a fascinating way to view the process of editing and the different versions of the song and what gets taken out, what gets added, and all that other kind of stuff. And ultimately, he decided to take them out. Okay, that's not a problem. But I'm just saying, to me, the horns don't detract so much. Like if Eric was soloing throughout the whole song while he's singing the verses, then that'd be too much. This is just a small flourish. To me, it does not detract that greatly. But I can understand that. Again, we're used to seeing or used to hearing that same version that we've known and loved forever. So when was that? That was 80 something. Now we're going to hear this version 30 years later. Yeah, it's going to be hard pressed for most people to accept that this one is equal to that. So I understand that. It's all good.
Well, on the original one, I always felt that, sometimes you hear a song and it paints a picture or like a little movie in your head. To me, it seemed like in the original one, well, the one from the Sign of the Times album, we'll call it that version, always seems like it took place in a dark bar somewhere, and not too many people in there. It's just one person playing and some music here in the corner, and then Prince sees his girl and mood is set. It's pretty dark in there, where this is be like the version you might see in the bar that comes out at the beginning of Under the Cherry Moon with his horns and everything. It changes the mood. It changes the scenery for me in a way that it's just too jarring for me. But I get what you're saying.
I respect that, but I also keep this in mind as well. Remember, now this is the same song that, Susan Rogers has been very vocal to let us all know was basically a mistake from jump, because it was recorded on a console with a problem and it's dull and all this, that, and the other. But yet, even with that, he still had the wherewithal to have Eric lay down these lines because he wanted to use them. But ultimately, he decided not to. So to me, that tells me that, okay, at least at the time, he felt that Eric's line added some kind of value or some color to the song that he wanted. Now, why he chose not to use it, who knows? But hey.
Well, I think Eric mentions about this on one of these recent podcasts or something. He was like, yeah, they wanted me to play on Dorothy Parker, which I already thought was a perfect Prince song.
And it is. It is a perfect
like,
Prince
what
song.
can I add to it? And he gave it a shot. And he was like, eh.
Right. But like you said earlier, that's what's beautiful about this. Again, it shows, and that's what a lot of artists of this caliber do. They try different things. Right. And sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not work. All I'm saying is I like both versions. Of course, my preference is for the original, because that's what I've grown up with. Right. This one doesn't detract to me.
Let me throw this
as much as I've heard.
Let me throw this in here as well, and we're going to move on. this is from the enhanced listening viewpoint again. You could, I could hear, you know what, this song actually, I started really thinking like this could have been a time track actually. And I say that because if you can open your mind and think about it, it's not that far away from 777-9311. You know, it's the super program beat, you know, and then the bass, you know, it's that same type of feel to it. And I could see it where it could actually be, again, it's no different from Gigolos That Get Lonely 2 or something. It's that player type dude, or it's, you know, I could see, like you said, he's at the bar. Could have been Morris at the bar, and it would have just been a real smoothed out player Morris day. Dorothy was a waitress in the promenade. You know what I'm saying? It still has that swing to it. You know what I mean? It's just that we thinking of Prince singing it, and we're not thinking of that. But you could see the suaved out dude, and he's at the club, and the music is still funk. I mean, it's still that funked out music. I could have seen that go a whole other way. I could have seen. I was listening to it. I was like, man, I could see Morris. I could have seen the time doing this. It would have been the fourth joint. And it would have been like, yo, more they came with another burner. Like, so anyway, that's just an
I'm picturing
enhanced.
that, by the way.
Yeah, you gotta say, you know, relax your mind.
I can see that.
You know,
With the speech is yes.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know, what do you say? Nah, I had a few cocktails. I'm too cool. you know what I'm saying. You could have did it. But anyway, let's keep moving. Next up is Witness for the Prosecution version 1. And I'm just going to go straight to Big Sexy and start us off on this.
You know, this is something, the way it starts off and goes, you know, witness. I'm expecting to hear some trumpets. And I'm expecting to hear some more Miles. I don't. But that's what I was expecting. And I've heard this one a few times by certain nefarious means. And I like hearing it completed and polished up and presented properly. And again, you know, I like it. I mean, it's not one of the standout tracks to me because I don't like the construction of the chorus. You know, the screaming of witness, that got old quick. But other than that, the music's funky. The music, if this was instrumental or change the presentation of the lyrics, we got something here. But just the chorus takes me out of it a little bit.
All right. Dey Droppin.
Because we're all nefarious people here. We all have heard this before as well. And this is a personal favorite of mine. Oh, wait, before I go any further, the last track, I didn't score it. It was so distracting for me. It's a 6 out of 10. Probably the worst score of the ones here. But okay, going forward now. So Witness for Prosecution, again, this is raw, it's funky, it's emotional, and it is a personal favorite of mine, like I said, due to nostalgia. And heard this one forever. I've always liked this version of it. I like this version much more than the one later on in this collection. For me, this is a 10 out of 10. It's an awesome song. It's funky. Even better now, the way it sounds so much clearer now.
Yeah, and I'll just say real quick, this is the version I've always preferred, and the tambourine playing in this kills me every time. If you focus in on it, I assume it's Prince is doing the tambourine. Man, it's so funky, and like it's not just hitting it like this. He playing a pattern with that, and then he just starts jamming with the tambourine. I love this. So I've always loved this version, and this sounds so great. This is beautiful to me. Big Ken.
Yeah, I got to co-sign what you guys have been saying. Yeah, I love this song as well. Particularly the bass line, you know, that thumping on the bass is really, really dope, man. It's great to have this in this quality. Sounds great when you bump it up loud because it does have that kind of raw griminess to it that Dey Droppin was talking about. So yeah, I dig this a lot.
All right, next up is Power Fantastic live in studio. Yeah, man. This is one of those tracks. We go Big Ken first. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, this will be quick, man. I mean, because this, I don't know, man. This is just one of those stunningly beautiful songs that he's done that I've always held in very high regard. I don't think it gets the credit that it deserves as one of his top ballads, because to me it is. Maybe that'll change now with more people hearing it in this presentation. Slightly different vocal delivery than the ones the one that's on the hits B-side versions, but it's still stellar nonetheless. And you know me being a jazz cat, you know I really dig the intro where he's telling them, we just play, because it's in that whole free jazz vein, a la Coltrane or Ned Coleman, Sun Ra. For any jazz heads out there, where he's just telling them, there's no wrong takes, just play, and then at a certain point Lisa gonna kick it off, and then we go from there. And it's just beautifully done, man. It's just a stellar song. Eric's flute line and the trumpet that Atlanta Bliss is playing for, which for a long time I thought was Miles, but it's actually Atlanta Bliss. Mm-hmm. Very well done. Just a beautiful song.
Yeah, this is. You're right. Everything you said is absolutely correct. This is a beautiful song. This is a song to me personally. I mean, I can understand why he didn't want to put Revolution tracks out after they broke up and stuff. But if this had came out, I wish this had came out back then. This is a beautiful. I would argue, this is the Revolution at its finest. As much as they can be the funk and all of that, the fact that they did this and they did it live shows how dope that band is, in my opinion. I always wish that he had released this and they had kept this intro part. I would have had him kept this intro part and then had it segue into the release or the other version of this song. But to me, this is just beautiful. The fact that he can just say, we're going to do this and let's just start playing. I get goosebumps hearing this. It's just that beautiful. And the fact that this guy can do, the dance music, funk, and then be able to come with something like this. This, to me, is what separated Prince from everybody else. Like, no other pop star is going to be able to have the musicianship, the ability, the vocal, the playing to do this. And this is a magical song. This is an exception. This is like, man, this is one of those, you telling me they didn't put this out? So I'm glad that this is here. This is a beautiful piece of work. I could see like 50 years from now, this song is being played somewhere and they're like, man, this is Prince? And they could be like, they wouldn't even know anything about the pop star Prince. This was just some song like, that was, this was in all the movies and all the, there's certain songs in pop culture that they always play and stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, this song is great. I heard this in that one movie. And they go back and look and like, this guy had all these funk and pop records. This is the same person. And you're like, yeah, man, this dude is incredible. This came out like in the 80s and it's the year 2050 or something like, and some kid, being like, their mind blown when they're like, oh, I went back and listened to some of this dude's stuff. You got to listen to this, man. Like, this motherfucker was, we just know him as this classical song, this, slow song, but this dude got these crazy funked out music. So this is what I'm talking about. This is why a release like this, when you put songs like this out there, is so important, because I think this song is going to be something down the line, man, because it's too good. It's just good. Anyway, I'm running my mouth. Big Ken. Big Sexy. Sorry.
Everything you said, I have to agree with. And I wish it was longer. She was just a longer thing, like what Ken mentioned. Miles would come in and say, look, here's the melody, blah, 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 play. And I like that, you got the Eric lead flute in there. You got the muted trumpet with Bliss. No one's trying to do too much. They're just trying to just go with the vibe and the flow that's in the room, and it works. No one's overplaying. No one's trying to show out. because it doesn't call for it. And I think this is magnificent. Yeah, I could see, this could be a peak revolution moment. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Dey Droppin.
Okay, yeah, I agree. You can't hear this track ever without having to fully hear the beginning of it where Prince is giving direction. If you skip that part, then you're not a true Prince fan.
Uh-oh.
You have to hear that. Okay, that goes without saying. Why? Because it's beautiful to hear him give direction like that. And for somebody who, a lot of people believe was such a stickler for the rules, you had your perfectionist here saying, there's no mistakes. And I'm like, wow, when I heard that. I mean, it blew me away. The whole beginning part there, the first time I heard it, I didn't know that was going to happen. And I was like, oh man, this is like that 24 bar chord procession from A to E in A Day in the Life from the Beatles. It reminds me of that. And he was doing this here, and I go, oh man, this is beautiful. It's better than before because of that. I say, make sure whenever it's a hard-hitting rainy day and it's kind of dark and it's raining so hard you can hear the rain hitting the roof, put this song on because it's going to fit that vibe. This is a new masterpiece. This is a 10 out of 10 and an 11 out of 10 if you want. This trumps what was out before, in my opinion, and this is the go-to version of this song.
Right. Next up is And That Says What? Big Ken.
Yeah, this is another great Flesh Sessions, Madhouse type of instrumental groove. I hear this, and I think of stuff like, of course, again, like you said, we're all nefarious cats here. So, I think of songs like Junk Music and High Colonic and a lot of those things from the Flesh Sessions that immediately springs to mind. I love how this track seamlessly goes from jazz to funk and back, and to me, I really appreciate tracks like this because it showcases the sheer versatility, the skill, the flexibility that Prince had, where he could just easily traverse different genres in the same album, and in this case, the same song. And not many or any of his contemporaries, as far as I'm concerned, could really boast this. If they could, they couldn't do it as well as he could. So this, to me, even though it's short, I love it. And, just like the title says, and that says what? That says ain't nobody messing with Prince, period.
That's right. Man, Dey Droppin.
Yeah, I agree with everything Ken said. This is a playful little instrumental. The only real gripe I have to it is that it feels like it's the middle of a song. Like it needs more at the beginning or more at the end or a little bit on both ends. Longer, in other words. It needs to be longer. It's too short. It sounds like an interlude part that would be played live in concert. And I could imagine this in a live setting as an interlude. But it's tight. It's a very tight song. And as it's presented here, I love that ending. Not too much more to say. 7 out of 10, man. It's a great song.
All right, Mr. Big Sexy.
This sounds like a short compilation of little musical phrases that we'd hear in concert, like "turn around," da 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 da, or things like that. Right, guys, da 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 da. Because he'll hit these cues, and the band will go right into that certain phrase because we've all heard it. This is what that sounds like. Like a little bit of a sampling of what we do live. So come see us. You start off with the jazz vibe, gets into the funk vibe, comes back out to the jazz vibe, but we're coming. So be prepared. And it just gives you a little idea of what's in store for you. I like it. A little appetizer.
Yeah, I agree with everything. This, in my enhanced listening mind, this is the MTV Awards, and MJ just won an award for best whatever. And then the next performance is Prince, and he's like, let's show them what we do here, and they just come into this wild, funked out jazz thing, and then he goes, and that says what? And then they go right into, and then he's like, like, Michael, sit down, okay. But no, this is like Ken said, this is just badass. Like, we can do all this shit and then some. and you don't want no piece of this. Whoever banned, y'all don't want this.
Like you say, y'all don't want the smoke.
Yeah, you don't want no smoke of this. That's all this is to me. Like this is showing off. Like we are the shit, Okay, but anyway, yeah, and that says what. Next up is Love and Sex, and we're gonna go to Dey Droppin. Start us off.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I go back and forth, and I kind of like Chili E's version better of the song. I think the lyrics kind of fit a female singing it, but this version is good too. And the reason why I go back and forth is because this has great guitar in it, great guitar sound. It's a grower. I don't have very much to say on it. I mean, mostly due to the guitar work on it is why I score it a 7+ out of 10. Why 7+? Because it's a 7 now, but it's probably going to increase over time the more I hear it because of the guitar work. It's a nice song, though. I mean, it's nothing super, it won't blow your mind or anything, but it's cool.
All right, Big Sexy.
It sounds like something else. I just can't put my finger on it. But it sounds very familiar to something he did later on. Musically, not lyrically, but musically, definitely. And it's driving me nuts. But I like it. I mean, and I'm going to get mail on this, but this is a filler cut. Yeah, I said it. This is filler, not bad filler, but filler nonetheless. But again, it reminds me of something that I'm just not seeing. But now, having said that, either Ken or Michael, so yeah, it's such and such. I'll be like, God damn it. So, guys, go ahead and help me out here. Tell me what I'm hearing.
Well, I think to me, it's just in my mind, it just reminds me of something from Purple Rain. Like it has that kind of a feel to it. That's what it reminds me of. Like it just sounds like a Purple Rain era type of a song. I'm more familiar with like what Dey Droppin was alluding to. There's a Sheila E version of this that it was done after this, and it's the same song, but obviously they did the instrumentation over. I do prefer that version over this, but it's great to hear this. Yeah, it's just I'm not gonna say it's a filler song, but it does sound very familiar to Prince type stuff. But I'm glad that this is here just on the completest sake, because I do enjoy it.
Which is why the set was done anyhow, for the completest in the song.
Yeah, exactly. So, Big Ken.
Yeah, I don't really have any complaints for this song. I mean, to me, this was probably written for Sheila's usage or considered for it, and Dey Droppin is right. The lyrics do make more sense from a female point of view, and so that's the way I approach it. I love the lyrics. I love the screaming guitars, man, throughout the choruses and whatnot. And you're right. Now that you bring it up, it does kind of have a vibe of the type of songs that we might have heard, in the Purple Rain era, just maybe not as loud and as raucous as what you would hear in Purple Rain, not like Let's Go Crazy or nothing like that, but it's along the same vein. Right?
Yeah, it's more like a, what's the song? Christmas. Another lonely Christmas. It's just like a tonal, the way of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does. And is it really that surprising? I mean, because remember, there's now granted, it's a completely different song, but there's another Love and Sex from 83, 84 on the Purple Rain set. So this could just be another a different version, an alteration that he was messing around with, right? And he said, okay, this will probably work for Sheila, and this is his guide vocal version, but I love it, man. It's one of my favorites on this set. It grows on me more and more, like Dey Droppin said, and it's a loud volume one to me because I love that guitar.
Okay, everybody get on this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so let's move on then to the next one. Is A Place in Heaven, Prince vocal. We're gonna go to Big Ken. Start us off on this.
Well, you probably shouldn't have started off with me, man, because I'm going to be honest with you. This is my negative in this set for me, and it's only because I personally have never really been into this song. And I've heard, again, we nefarious types here. I've been privy to privy to, these versions of this song for years, right? And it's just traditionally been one of the ones that for whatever reason has just never really held my interest. I mean, the lyrics are beautiful, very, it's nicely sung. And Prince's version here, his vocal version, reaches me a little bit more, but I'm just being honest. I typically skip this song overall in most cases. And I'm not even talking specifically this version on this set. I'm saying in general, I just don't end up digging this song that much. I actually think the version that's reversed, if you actually took the time to reverse it, that actually sounds better because there's some synthesizer underneath it. But overall, this is not one of my favorites. It's okay, but it's skippable in my case most of the time.
All right, Dey Droppin.
All right. Well,
that's right. I said it.
sound like you there for a second.
No. Okay, now don't start no shit now. Don't start it, man. No, we were doing good.
I'm glad that for folks who don't dabble so much in the boots, I'm glad that this is out finally, officially. Because it allows people to see, again, another facet of what Prince can do. I've always loved this track, and I've always liked this version. I know, some people like the version where Lisa sings better than this one. I'm of the group that likes the Prince version better. I've always liked his vocals better. There's something to be said about her singing it, but I like his vocals on this better. I think he's got more range, so it sounds nicer. I don't know. Is this the version that had the environmental records part before that would fade in? I think it was when it was on boot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird to not hear that on here at the beginning, but I do like it. I think that this song is gold with the sparseness on it, and I've always loved the lyrics. Sweets of those levels are few. One of those lyric lines that I've always thought was just magical, the way it was sung. I'm even okay with it not being a long track. It's a very short track, one of the shorter tracks here, but I got to go opposite spectrum here. And this one is another crazy high scoring one for me. Because of nostalgia, the sparseness, the beautiful lyrics, the way Prince delivers it, the experimental nature of it, it all wraps up into a nice package that has a big 10 on it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whoa.
There you go. I'll just say it's hard for me to judge this because, lived with this song for many years, been on so many bootlegs and different things. So I love it. It was great to hear it in its quality. And for being the completest, it's great that it's actually officially released. So I adore this song. I can't really say much else about it. Big Sexy.
I've never heard the song with Prince singing. I identify it so much with Lisa, and the tempo and the percussion sounds like, almost like a circus type vibe, which takes me back to like Sgt. Pepper, which is the Lisa and Wendy vibe, and that's cool. But I prefer it with Lisa singing it. I really don't have much to offer other than that. I'm not going to give it the whole shebang, but it's nice having it for complete's sake.
All right. Next up, we have another track here, instrumental, Colors. And this is actually, Colors. If only it was.
I always think of that one.
I am a nightmare walking. Not that Colors. This is Wendy. I didn't know this was Wendy. I've heard that before, but that this is Wendy. I love this. I've always loved this. Like, I always thought, like, this would have been a great interlude. It just has an emotion to it to me. Like, and the way I've always heard this song is this song plays and then it goes into I Can Never Take the Place Here, Man. I don't know if that's the way the track listing, the original Dream Factory was intended, but that's how I've always envisioned this song. So I always thought that this was Prince noodling before he went into that, but come to find this is actually Wendy. I like that this is here in a completed state. And this is why I'm saying, like, if you're going to put these little interlude type songs on here, I just wish that they just had the track listing so that you could hear it and how it was supposed to be, so you could really feel for it. But this is cool. I love this. Big Sexy.
It's short. I agree with that. And, like you said, it's just Wendy, tinkering around the guitar a little bit. The guitar that she's playing, I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. It sounds like she could be playing that white ES 335, because the type of vibe I'm getting from it. But in any event, it's not long enough, because for being the rhythm guitarist for as long as she has been, she needs to step out a little more. Step out a little more out front and show what she can do guitar-wise. This is like a little hint of that. She should have done more of these things, both here and on her own stuff.
All right, Big Ken.
Yeah, I love this, but I'll just say, in response to Big Sexy, I think that probably was the purpose of it, to be short. You know what I mean? Because this matches Visions, what Lisa did, right? But this is just Wendy, right? But it's just like the title says, it's colors, and she's painting the colors with lots of these diminished and augmented chords and different complex chords that she's using, and it's beautiful. It's just meant to be a short interlude. If anything, I mean, we all know that, Wendy is an excellent rhythm guitar player, but to me, this showcases that she could play well beyond just rhythm guitar, if given the platform to do so, but her role within Prince's camp has always been mainly rhythm guitar. But we've heard her on the Wendy and Lisa albums kind of expand out. So this just is more proof of that to me. But yeah, it's a small little interlude, but I like it a lot.
Dey Droppin.
It kind of reminds me of the group Acoustic Alchemy with their style. It's beautiful. It's another one of those when it's raining songs that you put on, and I'm glad it's finally out and is as clear as it is here. The only thing that it just seems to cut out abruptly. I don't know if that was by design or if that's how the best version that they have that cuts off that way. It seems like it should be longer, and that hurts it. And that's why I can't go higher than a 6 out of 10. But it is a beautiful song. The guitar playing what is there is beautifully put together, almost like just there happened to be a microphone hidden somewhere in the place where she was playing, and it caught that moment. That's what it kind of feels like, and that's cool. But it's too short, so 6 out of 10.
All right, next up is Crystal Ball 7-inch mix. To me, this is the one part that I will complain about. This puzzles me, and the more I'm thinking about it, I don't say pisses me off, but I don't know why you would put this on here. First of all, this is one of the dopest tracks. I remember the first time I heard Crystal Ball, the track, Headbuster, however many years ago that was. And knowing that it's a part, it's a title track for an album that didn't come out, and that it's a part of the story of how we got to Sign of the Times. But the thing with it is, you don't put Crystal Ball on here and chop it up like it. I don't know if it's a 7-inch mix, or this was intended to be some sort of single or something. Even if it was, you put this on if you were going to do that, put this with those other edited tracks that you had on the previous disc. But if you're going to put Crystal Ball out, put Crystal Ball out. And the thing is, I don't want to hear about, well, it already came out. Well, have some of these tracks we just talked about already came out. So listen, you could have pulled Colors, you could have pulled Vision, and maybe Teacher, and just put the completed Crystal Ball on here. I would not have been mad at that, but I am sort of mad that you could edit that down, and the way that it is edited, stop it. I don't know what they were thinking about this, because I'm only saying it because if for somebody who gets their hands on this and they don't have all that other stuff like we did, I don't want them to think that this is what Crystal Ball is. you need to go hear Crystal Ball is the shit and in its full, space. So I don't like this at all, and I don't listen to this. First time I listened to this version was the other day, and when it was over, I was like, "Are you serious? Who thought this was smart?" So that's my take on this. We'll go to Dey Droppin.
Probably Prince thought it was a smart move. And even in the book, you see a picture of that cassette where it even says Crystal Ball, short version, 3 minutes, 27, 7-inch single edit. Maybe the thought was at some point when the Crystal Ball configuration was going to come out, that was going to be the radio edit of that song. That's the only thing I can come up with as to why this even exists. If the estate wants to say, well, we don't want to bring out the long version of it because it's already been released, I say, nah, I'm gonna call the bullshit card on that one, because you still have the Children of the Purple Underground version that with Lisa and Wendy, that's even longer and it's even more expansive and it adds a little bit more to it. That one is even more crazy than the Crystal Ball version that we know. So, bring that one out instead of this. This is neutered, just like Summertime Thing got neutered down to the latest fashion. Just like the original album version of Computer Blue was neutered down from the hallway version, this one's got neutered down also, to the point where I feel it's not needed here. And I didn't even score it. If I was to score it, it could not get higher than a 5. It can't, because you're comparing it to what exists that is so much greater than what is here. It's like once you know that the full version of Computer Blue is there, and once you have that, it's hard to hear the album version now because you know how grand it is. Same thing here. Why would you hear this when you know that there's something else out there that is readily available right now? And then there's an even longer version that's even better. Why would you listen to this here? Why is it here? It's probably here because it's part of the history of it, but this one really didn't belong, because it's not like you can make this mix on your own right now with what was released prior to this collection. So yeah, this is a sore spot for me as well. I don't think this should have been on here. It just doesn't make sense.
Big Ken.
Yeah, I didn't take it as, I wasn't as salty as you guys were about it, but I do agree with you. I mean, it is puzzling why this is on here. I mean, obviously Prince at some point in time thought it was a good idea to cut a 7-inch mix of this, but that's probably one of the few mistakes that he made, because to me, you guys are absolutely right. When you listen to the full versions of these songs, like Crystal Ball is one of those songs that that's not a single. Right, like that's
exactly.
the kind of song. That's the kind of song that's a showcase of the album per se. Period. Like you can't.
Correct.
There's no way you can successfully edit that song and keep the power of it intact. So that was a bad thought from the beginning, probably from him. So them including it, I don't really fault them so much for including it, because they're trying to just putting in for completeness sake, but. I'm with you guys. Ultimately, I would have loved that if the whole Children of the Purple Underground version was there in pristine quality. That would be something. But I also think too, we got to look at it this way. I mean, let's be realistic. The average person on the street is not buying this full set. This full set is for folks like us, the collectors. That a lot of the collectors that do have access via nefarious underground means to the real versions, right? So the average, new person, like if there was somebody new, they might just buy the 2-disc version and be done with it. They're not even going to try to get this. So,
that's what I'm saying. So for us, the hardcore, you don't give us the 7-inch.
Right. I agree. I agree with that. But then this is why I also think I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I have no inside information, so I don't know. It would not surprise me, Mike, if that version that we want to hear, that we want, could show up on a parade set or a different set somewhere else. Because again, let's be real. All these recordings overlapped, man. All this stuff overlapped through a period of 85, 86, '87, right? He was doing multiple projects at the same time, as well as doing projects for other people. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could show up elsewhere. But I agree with you.
But Crystal Ball doesn't overlap into Parade. That's the problem.
Agreed.
So it'd be crazy if they did put it on there.
I agree. But what I'm saying, again, we're not the ones that's like overseeing all of the picking of these songs. So I don't know. It just wouldn't surprise me that if it may show up somewhere else along the line, somewhere else. So maybe that's why. Because I'm like, there's songs that we know could be in this set that's not in this set from this period, right? So are they holding on to them for something else down the line? I don't know, but either way, I just kind of skip it and be like, okay, it's on the set, move on.
Got it. Big Sexy.
My first question, and this is more of a confession, ever since Another Lover Hole in Your Head came out on the 12-inch, I don't have any use for 7-inch singles. Sorry. And so on all the box sets that have come out, I don't even play that album. Because 7-inch singles, I don't care about. Radio mix, don't care. Do not care. So hearing this is like Mike said, where's the rest of it? Play it all. We've got the room, so let's go ahead and just do it. So that whole album of 7-inch mixes, get rid of that as far as I'm concerned. But I must admit, I am not familiar of these Purple Children of the Underground. What is that?
That is a longer version that I might have gotten the wording wrong on it, where it breaks into an interlude between Lisa and Wendy on the Crystal Ball.
It's toward the end of the song too, yeah.
Right? And it goes into like a little beat like this where they're all expert.
Yeah,
it's just the long version, the uncut version of the song.
Yeah, it just adds another layer to it because it switches it up even more. Because Crystal Ball switches up a bunch already, anyways. Well, this switches it up. It hits the brakes and puts it in reverse and then goes sideways.
And it's only for a few seconds. It's not that long. It's
right,
really
it's not. But it adds such depth to it. It's so cool. So add that version in here. But you gotta look for it. It's cool.
Yeah. And I guess there is a fan base for it, but the whole edit inclusions of Prince songs always puzzles me. Like, I just feel like it's such a waste. I get that there are people who are into that. Because, wasn't one of the discs here has the edited versions. Now, adding the 12-inch versions, of course, the longer, but maybe, okay, here's the edit version, radio edit. I don't understand that type of inclusion, but I guess there's the super completist fans. They like that stuff. I just feel like that's a waste of space. We could get more songs.
Waste of space, man.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, we may think that because we're hardcore, but it's just for like you said, just complete.
There must be super hardcore guys that do want that.
But I'm saying, we don't listen to them. But I mean, hell, they take these same 7-inch mixes and then they sold them together as a separate 7-inch singles box set, right? Yeah. And that some completists would just buy just
That's
to
why
have.
I wish they kept it to that. Yeah, and I wish they kept it to that. I'm saying when they include them in like these type of releases, I wish they would leave it off because it's like, we don't.
Yeah, because they did the same thing in the 1999 set too, ding't they? They had like a bunch of the 7-inch.
Same
singles.
with Purple Rain, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, But anyway, I'm nitpicking. We got to finish this up. Next up, Big Tall Wall version 1. Quickly, I'm going to give my quick take. One of my favorite songs on this disc or whatever it is. I had heard a little bit of this song before, but not this version. This version right here, love this. Oh my God. Like, Prince, this is my Prince right here. I cannot get enough of this song. I'm like playing this over and over. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I don't know much about this song, but I cannot get enough of it. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to go to Dey Droppin.
Okay, so for the sake of completism and, seeing the evolution of the song, it's a cool inclusion. Listening, this is a headphones or good speaker song because you have to be able to differentiate left and right because the bass line on the left channel is nuts on this song. It's fun. But I prefer the dark sounding version over this one, considering the lyrics. And it's a song about the idea of controlling somebody, basically. So it's cool, but I like the other version better. With that, scoring it's barely a 7 out of 10, and that's being generous.
Woo.
Man,
Crazy. I love it though.
Society.
Go ahead, Big Ken. Go ahead.
Mike, I gotta agree with you, man. Look, this is another, to use your nomenclature, this is another head buster for me. This is another standout of this set that just its inclusion by itself is worth every penny that I pay for this set. And we've said numerous times through nefarious means, I've had access to the second version, or what that we now know as the second version, for a long time. I love that version. Very sparse. I love the layered vocals and all that stuff. But you could imagine my surprise. I won't forget it. My wife and I were driving to the grocery store, and I had this on in the car, and then this song comes on, and I'm expecting to hear basically an offshoot of the version that I know. And at first I was like, what the hell is this? I had to go back, my mouth wide open, just blown away, man. And just like Strange Relationship, like I said before, I love the sitars and the tabla sounds that grab me right away. You couple it with the horns, that acoustic guitar, it makes a very, very unique texture, and it grooves, man. Especially that last couple of minutes, he just let that roll. If he could have let that roll for another 5 minutes, and I wouldn't have been mad at all. I mean, I just absolutely love this song. And again, it's one of those type of Exhibit A songs, and where I'm listening to it, and I think to myself, who in the hell else could even dream up something like this? And I'm talking about, just any pop star or popular musician who could come up with something like this. And it's beautiful. Love it. I mean, I'm gonna give it a score. Damn it, it's a 20 out of 10. Okay, Dey Droppin, I got love for you. But I'm going it's a 35 out of 10.
Hilarious.
It is late. You ain't eating lunch yet, so.
All right, big sexy. Yeah,
I love that.
Look, let me just say this real quick, guys. Musically, it's an outstanding song. That's what gives it the score that it gives it. I just don't think that the lyrics match up with it. That's the thing.
Trying to explain yourself out.
No, I agree. I said that first time.
The lyrically, no, big tall wall. Come on, man. That's a little remedial. That's a little beneath him. He could have done a little better lyrically, but musically, straight flame. Love it. But lyrically, yeah. But that little horn section and synth section, that's gonna be in my head all day now. Thank you,
man. Mike, let's move on, man, because my blood pressure's starting to get up. So I'm about to go out here and get my lightsaber in a minute.
Okay, this was the trigger song.
Yeah, man. Because dude, come on, man. Big tall wall, man. Look here, Trump ain't even got no big tall wall, bruh. Come on now. Okay,
don't give him any ideas.
I mean, come on, bro. All right, go ahead.
Next campaign, that song come on, like,
that would be bad.
Oh, man. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Y'all gonna have to help me with this one. I'm just gonna say A Place Called Heaven in reverse.
There it is.
That's it.
Gotta read that out. We'll start with Dey Droppin.
Yeah, first heard officially in the intro to Dream Factory from the Crystal Ball release. For me, its inclusion is a trip, but it really serves nothing because we really kind of, in a way, heard it. It's cool to be able to hear the entire thing without Lisa and Wendy doing their Valley Girl talk over it. It's not really a song. I mean, it's meant to be heard the way it is. So if you have to reverse it to hear something out of it, then no, that's not the intent. But I haven't heard it reversed yet. I want to because as Big Kid said earlier, it's pretty cool. So I want to check it that way. But as it's
reversed it.
I haven't done it yet. But as presented here, it's kind of just an oddity song, and it isn't really a song, but like I said, it's just an odyssey. So like the Crystal Ball 7-inch mix, it has no official score.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll just say I listened to the first piece of it, and then when I realized what it is, I said, oh, okay. And it's everything like Dey Droppin just said, the intro. Other than that, I'm cool on it. I don't play it. It's cool that it's on here, complete as sake. I get that. Again, I'm just to say, I would have, if it was because of time on the disc or whatever, I would have took this off and we would have had the full crystal ball. Like there's a couple of these tracks that could have been off, and I would have did that. But I get why it's on here. Not mad at it. I just don't really play it, but it's interesting. I'll say that much. Big Ken.
Yeah, I mean, it's only on here for complete's sake, right? Because you guys are right. I mean, what we've heard of it in the past, we only hear a very, very small splice of it that's kind of spliced in between some sections at the beginning of Dream Factor or whatever. So we only hear like a couple seconds. But this is the full song. But I'll just tell you that if you reverse it, what you'll hear, I mean, it's still not my favorite song, but it's a much nicer version of A Place in Heaven. It's the one with Lisa's vocals. But underneath it, there's this ethereal kind of airy synth pad underneath it instead of the drum machine. You don't have the drum machine. So to me, it fares better than the previous versions. But he had his reasons for using it the way he did. So it's nice to have it in its entirety. But I suspect that the majority of people, they'll hear the first couple of seconds and then they'll skip.
Big Sexy.
I'm with Ken on this one. I'm glad it's here. But it's kind of, I'm going to go ahead and say it's kind of a ripoff. You play something backwards, it's the same thing, just backwards. Wow. So no, it's not that big a deal to me. I mean, it does sound a little haunting, but I don't think I would have sacrificed album space for it. No, I could use that on other things. Or at the very least, I would put this on the singles portion where I would never hear it.
All right, we got the last track here, and this is a very important song. To me, this was one of those Ark of the Covenant. Like, you've heard it before, but you never really got to hear it in its glory. Prince redid this song in his later years and put it out. So the song I'm talking about is In a Large Room with No Light. For some of the hardcore old school fans, y'all remember we used to think this was called Welcome to the Rat Race.
Yep.
For many years. I'm actually going to go to we're going to go to Big Sexy first. Go ahead.
Welcome to the Rat Race. I like that. This is another song that, if I'm not mistaken, was done by Kid Creole and Coconuts, correct?
I'm not sure about that.
This
I could
new
be
stuff.
mistaken.
You're not smoking. You're not doing enhanced podcasting, are you?
I have no comment. So this is something that will be in that wheelhouse for something like a band like that. Now, having said that, I love it. It is one of the Holy Grail songs. You've heard about it. We've all heard about it for years, and again through means of a questionable nature. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but hearing it completely done and polished up and presented properly, I love it. I love it. This is a great song. I'm not going to start ripping off Ernie's vibe and, grading things, but this is a standout track to me.
All right. Dey Droppin.
Yeah, I've always loved hearing this song from early boot days, and as different boots would come out, this track would be on, and I would listen to it, and go, "Oh, this sounds even better now." And I went through so many generations, I guess you could say, of the song getting better and better and better sounding, so that it's here now is perfect. This is a CD ender of a track, and it's perfect that it's the last track on this particular CD. And it's technically a perfect composition made one beat better, because unless I'm hearing it incorrectly on my other ones, there's an extra drum beat at the beginning that isn't evident on other boots. I mean, what can I say about this? This is a 10. It's a wild, crazy, it's complex. Lyrically, it's awesome. I mean, he even manages to get some cuss words in there, and it still sounds beautiful. 10, 11, 12, anything over 10 is not a mistake. I forget about the 2000s version. That one's nice and all, but this is the real version of the song. And There's just so much going on. I'm sure Ken will be able to elaborate on it. So I'm not even going to try, but you owe it to yourself to get the set, if anything, for this song.
Big Ken.
Yeah, I'm gonna co-sign with you guys, man. Yeah, I first heard, a really crappy version of this years ago, like you said, when it was on Boots as Welcome to the Rat Race. But I remember at that time I liked it, but it was so different than anything I had heard from him up to that point. So it kind of took me by surprise. I dug it, but it had to grow on me over time. But over time, man, I've grown to really love and appreciate this song, especially now in this form, like this particular version and the quality that it's in, with the proper volume and the clarity. I mean, you can make out the lyrics. I love this. It's very, very energetic, man. It has this driving beat, man, that just kind of just goes right at you. I mean, it almost, to my ears, I kind of get a slight, I mean, I don't know if I want to say like a Caribbean vibe or something. It's not quite, like that, but it's just real, like almost, I feel like I can hear this in the tropics or something when I'm listening to it. But that's contrasted with some really heavy, almost bleak lyrics, which when you really listen to them, they're really relevant right now at this current time with all the shit going on right now. Like, just peep the chorus, man. It says, "Did you ever feel that life was like looking for a penny, large room with no light, a sophisticated mass-produced cacophony of no-one situations that aren't right?" I mean, come on, man. I mean, like, those are just some insanely dope lyrics. I mean, and they fit right now, because right now we are, as a country, looking for a penny in a large room with no light. I love the coda at the end, that whole end section, the sax solo that fades out, that leads to the fade out, is just very well done, very powerful. And it, like Ernie said, I could very well see this closing an album, so it's appropriate that it closes this first disc, this first slice of Vault tracks. Very, very powerful song.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs by Prince as well. Hearing it back in the days, at the time when I heard it, like you said, it was unlike anything by Prince I had ever heard. And it was probably one of the songs, it's one of the first boot songs I've heard. It was when I realized, like, yo, some of his illest material is unreleased. Like, when I was like, I don't understand why this didn't come out. Like, I was like, this is fantastic. Like, this is so different, but it's so, like, just hard to explain. It's one of those songs, like, it just has a feeling to it. And everything about, from the music, the boom, 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 and just the way he's, just thinking about it, just as a feeling to this song that I was like, God, Prince and the Revolution, motherfuckers, man! Like, how do they come up? How do they come up with stuff like this? And just the lyrics. It seems like it was too important not to come out. So it was just one of those songs. Like, even though it wasn't the best quality, I always played this. You know what I mean? It was a part of my Prince collection that I would always play this song. And so it was shocking to me years later that he redid this song, and it came out, and I was like, I can appreciate the newer version, but I was like, man, there's just no comparison. It's like the original is the original. Eric Lee's, Wendy and Lisa, all of that, man, just, it's such a timepiece. And so to hear this now in its full on glory, I'm just so glad that you can hear it this way. This is one of the first tracks I wanted to hear too, and play it loud in the headphones and really just dive into it. And it's just, I think this is Sheila E. playing the drums. Just fantastic, man. Like, when they were on one, they were on one. And this is one of the ones where they just knock it out of the park. And to me, this is like, what's that song we mentioned earlier? Power Fantastic. It is it's just one of those things you would never imagine. You know what I mean? It's like everything you've heard from them. And then when they come with something like this is that special stuff. Like, only Prince could do something like this. This song has so many different feels to it. I think Eric Leeds said the day they did this, Prince came to them and said, y'all want to do some Broadway type show or something. And that was the song they recorded. And then they never did nothing else like that. And I'm like, you know what? I could see, to me, this is up there with Power Fantastic. This is also up there in my mind. And I wish they could have included these on here and took some of these other songs off. Girl of My Dreams, and I Can't Stop This Feeling I Got, and then going into We Could Funk, or like Data Bank, just those, they all sort of in that same hemisphere in my mind. And this is a special song to me, and I hope that when other people hear this, they'll be like, man, this is fantastic. This is Prince. Wow, he has a wide range. So yeah, love this track. That's the last track on this Vault 1. And man, this has been some time, but as we do, I want to get you guys' final thoughts on Vault 1. Let's start with Big Ken. What do you think of this particular collection of songs?
I was very pleased overall with this Vault, first disc of the Vault. I mean, there's some gems in there, some stuff in there that I hadn't expected. The Big Tall Walls, the Strange Relationship, the Dorothy Parker, even just alternate versions, whatever. I mean, it's just the recurring thing that came to mind to me. I got to be honest, guys, when I was going through this set. And the next couple of shows when we go over the other discs, this is going to be a recurring theme with me, man. But it's just honestly the truth, man. This set is basically an embarrassment of riches, man. It's I found myself listening to stuff like, and I'll take Big Tall Wall for example. I find myself listening to songs like that, and the thought that came to mind immediately is that it's almost laughable, man. Like, this is not even fair. It's not even a level playing field. When you look at the prolific nature of Prince, and I mean, this guy was writing 2, 3, 4, 5 songs a day, every day, for the last 30, 40 years. I mean, Prince was basically a conduit, man. I mean, the music is coming from someplace else. Like, it's very few cats that we've come across in our lifetime like this, cats like him, your Jimi Hendrix, your John Coltrane, Duke Ellington, Ray Charles. You go way back, your Mozart, your Beethovens. It's the same thing. These guys are so talented, man, that the music just flows through them. The record label couldn't even handle Prince during this time, and it's because he wasn't a faucet that you can just turn it off and on. It was always on. And this first disc, we haven't even gotten to the other 2 discs. There's straight gems on these next discs that we got to go over, and it's insane. So it's just I just thought to myself, I was just very appreciative that I'm around, to witness this. I'm not trying to over dramatize it, but I'm just being honest how I feel. I feel lucky that I was there at the beginning of his career, and I had the wherewithal and the foresight to realize that this guy was special, followed his career all the way to the end. And now this set, just like the 1999 set, man, is just further validation of what I always known, man, that ain't nobody messing with this dude, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if it's to the point, Mike, where there's certain songs that would come on, and just when I thought I've heard everything and like, okay, nothing that he could do at this point could surprise me, then he could go Big Tall Wall, from Beyond the Grave, he like, take this with you. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. So this is a great start to just a great section of this set, man, that just gonna get better as we get to the vaults 2 and 3. It's gonna even get better than this if you can imagine it.
All right, Big Sexy.
I co-sign everything he said. It is a wealth, a treasure trove of goodies. Vault 1 of 3 is just the beginning, and hearing a lot of these things officially released and cleaned up is such a treat. I love it, because when my box arrived, I played it the one time and then went to HD tracks and got the high resolution download because I don't want to be that guy and have a big thumbprint on the LP and that type of deal because I'm very clumsy. So I got the high resolution download and just dive into it and just enjoy it all, all of it, because this is what a box set should be. It should be multiple pieces of art in there and aimed at us because we're going to buy it. And we bought it to the extent of, I think it got to number 13 on the Hot 200, I believe. So it's out there and it's being supported, which is great because there's a lot there. You take the masterpiece that is Sign of the Times, and then you build, the foundation to show how we got to that point. You can't go wrong here. And this is something that's going to last a while. And I love it because there's so much depth and variety in it, which is great.
Right. Dey Droppin.
There's nothing like feeling like a child again and or going back to your youth. And that's, like I said at the top of the show, that's what this release has done. And we've only scratched the surface. To put it in a little bit of context here, I mean, this CD, this one, Vault 1, has 18 tracks in it. A lot of times your regular artists in a span of 3 to 5 years will release two releases that each will have maybe 9 tracks at most sometimes. And that includes having many writers, have many producers, many, quote, guest stars on it. And this is just basically one guy doing everything here. And he is doing what many people nowadays would release over the span of 5 years. This is just overdone. This is one collection of 3 that doesn't still include everything that he did in the course of 3 years. You think of it like that, it's incredible. Even, and when you put it in that context, the Crystal Ball 7-inch mix is okay because even that dumbed down mix is better than so many things that people are bringing out today. To me, like I said, this thing brought me back. It brought me back to being a child, and very few things can do that. You strive once you become 18 to go back to being 17, 364 days. That's the goal, is to get back to that. So we work and work and work to that so we can retire and be back and be young again. So when you get these little nuggets in between that allow you to be young like this, it's a prize, and it's a beautiful thing. And this collection has done that. I've got nothing but praise for it. And like Ken said, the best is yet to come on these vaults, on these vault CDs. This is like almost funny to think of it, almost like a sampler. Well, yeah, this is like a sampler of what is in total on this whole set. It's so wild. It's over the top and still isn't 100% all the way there, if you could believe that. So, I'm glad to be around when this comes out and to be able to take it in and to be able to feel like a kid again. For somebody who I've seen since the early 80s, who I've been listening to since then. And you still get surprised 30, 40 some years later. I'm still getting surprised by this guy. And I can't ask for anything more of any kind of musician.
All right. Yeah, I would say in terms of this set that we just reviewed, it runs the gamut of different styles of music. There are some songs on here that I would play for somebody who was not familiar with the Prince. I think it accomplishes. Like, you could pull something on here and say, "Yo, listen to this," and wow, what's going on here? So as you said, this is just touches we're just at the tip of what we're about to get into, and this is a full meal unto itself. Just this first section, and I love it. And one thing I hope that happens with this is that, again, I just think of years later, some kid or somebody who's into music and they come across this. If they somehow come across this disc by itself or vinyl or something, and they just, I'm just going to play this. There would be things on here. Hopefully there's stuff on here that would pique their interest and blow them like, yo, this is great. And they start listening to this stuff and they go out and seek some of the other stuff. I feel like the music on here is somewhat removed enough from the big hits that these would be like, wow, I didn't even know this is the same guy. Or like, this seems so different from what I thought Prince was supposed to be. Because I just feel like a lot of these tracks are not the stereotypical Prince type stuff that some people may think. And there's a lot of music on this, wide-ranging music on this just first disc alone, right? And that's what I love about it. The musicality of it and the range is fascinating. So we're just diving in. This is the first one we've touched, but yeah, this is great. So I'm definitely.
It's not even a fair fight, man.
Yeah, this is a compilation in a sense. It's a compilation just from a few years of time. Well, actually, if you throw in the first track, it's all the way from '79, but it definitely shows you the gamut of musical styles, and the dude was good at all of it. So you're not gonna fall asleep listening to this.
Nope.
All right, man. Well, there it is. Vault 1.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
I got a kind of a nitpicky question. Who's got a picture of or the album cover in front of them right now?
The album cover of this particular Vault 1?
No, the entire thing.
Of the set?
Yeah.
Well, I can bring it up.
I have it in front of me. Go ahead. Make your point.
Okay, if you look at the cover and you see Prince, obviously, if you look to his right, there's a set of 4 speakers. In the upper left corner of those speakers, what is that? That's an album cover that's driving me crazy. I've seen it somewhere. I just can't think of where I've seen it.
Hold on. Let me see if I can zoom in here.
Well, those are the speakers that were from the Parade era. See those?
What is that picture, though?
Oh, I have no idea. You talking about the woman or the person?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
This is driving me nuts.
No clue. Well, listen.
It looks like an album cover, but I can't think of what it was.
Well, I'm sure our listener in the comments will definitely, scholars will jump in and give us that info. But we've been here for quite a bit, so we're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to be back for Vault Tracks 2 soon, but we would love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you just heard. Again, we are joined here by Big Ken, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
Dey Droppin.
Thank you.
Big Sexy and Sack. And myself, Michael Dean. We want to shout out to, once again, thank you, Brandon, for getting me a copy of this, the physical vinyl. We want to shout out all of our Patreon subscribers and supporters. Thank you so much. Shout out all our YouTube people. Also, we're going to shout out to people who are not here today. My man Aunt Pooh, Chloe, Darlene Nisi, Tobias, which hopefully you'll hear in the beginning of this, Monique, one of the old school hosts of the show as well. And listen, we got, what did my man Prince say? Got a whole lot of butter or something, muffin ready. My brain.
Got a lot of butter to go.
Yeah, we got a lot of butter to go. Yes.
Whole lot of muffin. Got a lot of butter to go.
There you go. So we just getting started. So with that said, work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace. All right. Woo.